Welcome to Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode 184. It's real easy to remember now, man. I didn't have to ask. I didn't have to look at my notes. It's like 84.
2 in a row for you.
Boom. Yeah, 84. Straight up. There it is. And maybe I said that on the last show. I don't know. But see.
You did.
Why? Well, of course. See? Because I haven't listened back. And I used to make it a point of listening back the day before. Friday at work before. So I know. Because people are always referencing things. And I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So it's like, okay. And I don't remember. And so it's like I have to listen because what if I said something and everything else? And the way things have been at work lately, I haven't had the quite the opportunity. But here's the problem. Starting Wednesday this week, I'm going to have nothing but time to listen because we're not doing collections for 3 weeks because they're doing a new system. And then I'll be reading meters day in and day out, and it's going to be a grind, and I'll have nothing but time to listen to podcasts. But for the past, 4 weeks, I've been the main collector guy over there, and I'm out in...
Collector.
Yeah, the collector, knocking on the door.
Collector 3, Dave Z.
Give me your money, or I'm fucking shutting down your electricity. Straight up.
Oh, you're that guy.
Yeah, the collector. Literally, I get there, and I say, hello, I'm from NYSEG, and unfortunately, I was issued a collector disconnect on your account today. Literally meaning I have to collect money or disconnect your electricity. So what are we going to do here? Of course, I don't say it that way, but, Yeah. But that's it. It's collector disconnect. Because these people, they've had years to pay, and because of COVID, they got a break. So for 2 years, they weren't allowed to shut anybody down. And on top of it, while they weren't paying, they also weren't amassing any, late fees or any of that stuff. So, we were soft collecting for 2 years, meaning we were going there asking for money. And
stealing
even if
cats, you got a cat for collateral?
No, that was a whole other job. No, stealing cats. So, but those days are over now. So
cat lateral. Sorry, I'm just gonna excuse myself.
That's a B joke, though. That's good. Cat lateral. I don't even know if that's a B joke, honestly. He might not have said that. I don't know.
No. He's upper tier. Remember, I'm my jokes are in a tier 5 podcast.
And that's the problem here with B. The problem with B is this: if he decides not to come back, I think
he better not do that to us. I'm gonna then I'll ghost at him.
I know, right?
I'm worried because I've been telling people because. From what we're understanding, we see a light at the end of the tunnel, but we're hoping, right? We're no pressure, but we were hoping that there was this light under the tunnel, and that, based on just some, back and forth and whatever, that we might, be back in action sooner than later, like maybe within the next 2 months.
We do hope. We're gonna find out. People have been messaging, but we don't know. But the thing is this: if he doesn't come back. The question is, what happens then? I was thinking, hey, because somebody mentioned to me recently, I think it was John Rhodes said something about the three of us together and this and that, and something about our personalities and everything. Exactly what it was, I don't know. I got to send it to B still, and I'm going to, because people do say things, and then I'm gonna reach out to B and send things to him. But it's like, but I don't forget. I just don't do it right away because I'm usually at work, So. But I'm thinking if somebody else did come in, it would have to be somebody that was cracking wise. It would have to be a funny kind of guy. That's the way it works. Another guy like you and I.
And not someone that thinks they're funny like me. Someone that's funny.
Right. Someone that's funny. But I'm thinking, who is funny? I'm trying to think about all the podcast people we know. Everybody, yes, they do have a sense of humor. They do have, even you and I are funny.
Cat lateral.
Cat lateral. Yeah, that's the quality of it.
Yeah.
But it would have to be somebody that fits a similar type of mold where they want to go for a joke first, even though they know what they're doing. And I don't think there's another one like it. I'm thinking about everybody we know and all the podcasts I listen to. Because, not anymore, because most of them are just unlistenable these days. That's just I just can't. There's so many. I only have so much time because I said what's happened lately. And I've been listening to Summer Series. I almost said Summer Sausage. I've been listening to Summer Series, and
I'll allow this discussion. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why. But the thing is, when I look at these people, when I look at the people we know, they're all good podcasters, but there's nobody else like B. I'm trying to think of somebody that's funny. Like,
Dave,
you know, that,
David's trying to dance around the funny. You're not funny, you motherfuckers.
well, they're funny.
You
But
might have your knowledge, but come on. Get with the waka waka.
they have humor, just like us. We have humor, but we're not always cracking wise. And it's better when there's a third person that can crack wise. But I look at these things, like I think about all these guys that would be great. I have these discussions with Dave Parker every time he listens to the show. He listens to our show, and that's not all. We discuss all kinds of things in the chats and stuff. But he always gets back about this and this and this. And there's been times I thought to myself, man, if B doesn't come back, Parker should freaking come in, because he always adds these good things. But then after looking at that thing from, not that I'm saying that, you know, he would or could, I'm just saying that's just thoughts I've had, like different people, you know. And he's like, after I hear what John said about, like, you know, that third person being that type of person, I go, well, that's not Dave. And Dave also, like us, has a sense of humor, but he's not like B. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of somebody funny. I look at all these podcasts I listen to, and we're down to like almost nothing. Like I listen to like 4 podcasts now, like horror wise. Nothing just does it for me anymore.
Why don't we list all the podcasters we know and then rank them as funny or not funny?
Yeah, that'll be nice. Most of them won't even hear it anyway. But they are all funny. That's just it. But they're not like B. B is a different breed of cat. You know, he's in his own.
He is. No, there's no
Right.
question about it. People miss his special brand of comedy. Emphasis on special. The fact is, if he does leave, I'm taking I'm taking this, and I'm going solo cat. I'm taking it's Exploding Head horror movie podcast just with me moving forward.
I'm kicked out.
Sorry, Dave. You got
out.
your WotC, you got your horror podcast weekly. I don't know what you're on anymore. Are you doing another alphabet with Jamie and Brian or no?
No, they got their own. They're too good with their on their own thing. The two of them, they got their
said,
thing.
"Fuck
going.
your schedule. We're gonna do it when we want to do it."
Well, how great is that? Living with the person you podcast with. How easy is that? Okay, well, you know what I'm saying? Let's podcast tonight.
To each their own. They seem to make it work. I don't know.
Well, I mean, just for the sake of scheduling. I mean, maybe not everything else.
Imagine that's your conversation. You don't even come home and say anything like, "Hey, how's?" You just come through the door. Whoop! You put your cans on. You're in front of the mic. Okay, let's talk about our day. And that's the only communication you've got.
Wow. Honestly, that would be kind of cool for them if they did live that way, because they do so well on the mic together that that's what they should do. If they ever have an argument, guys, listen, if they ever have an argument or something's going on, I think the best way to resolve it is to sit down, go on Skype or something and record. And of course, it's not going to go to the public, but pretend it's a podcast and then keep it formal as much as you can, and then do your thing and discuss it on a podcast. That'd be great. Matter of fact, if that ever happens in my household, I might give it a shot. Although I may make my wife into a podcaster, because I want double votes on the Summer Sausage next year, or the Summer Series. I keep saying Summer Sausage by default, because I listen to podcasts under the stairs. I listen to the Summer Series, and it's all done by drawing, but one episode, well, not one, it's actually 5, anything that ends in the number 3, so 2003, 83, etc., whatever. They had to add one movie. Well,
wait, give me more examples. 73, 63,
nope,
53. Oh, not 60. See?
73 and up.
You should have probably explained that.
See? You're right, but it was the 3. Yeah, imagine they just kept going back to like fucking.
So 23.
To 03.
Are you going to the future?
Imagine that. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can't have 2 03s. You can have 1913. Were there movies in that? Yeah, there were. I've been
23. 23. I said. 20. I want you to do movies for next year.
Oh, that 23. Oh yeah, I was thinking 1923 by default. I was thinking going back in the past, 54.
You said it was 73 and above, so I'm.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying, wouldn't it be something if that show was that though? If they had a show where it was all the 3s, you know, beginning in 1903. You know, the 03 show.
1903. What do we got there? We got Train going into station. What movie? What is that called? Like where people jumped out of their seats because they thought the train was going to like hit them.
What? I don't know. Suicide
Old school
Club?
Yeah.
What?
Man, people were stupid back in the day.
What do you tell? Is this a true story? People jumped
Nothing
because the
ever
train came at
changed.
them?
Yeah, it's like a famous story about like when they used to show film when film first became like something, moving pictures, if you will. They showed
Yeah,
a
moving
scene of a
pictures.
train coming into the station, and then, of course the train's coming at the camera, but to the side because they're on on the site they're filming it,
Right.
and the audience didn't know what was going to happen, so they hopped up. It so the story goes. But I
Wow.
have to question it because I'm like, this was the era of silent film, meaning there's actually no sound.
Right.
What do these people do? What are they jumping up for? The guy playing the piano? Like, fucking stupid.
Well, hold on. At first, I was seeing it with you, but then I something else popped into my head. It's actually kind of trippy and scary if the train wasn't making sound. That might make it scary. I might want to get out of the way if I saw a train coming at me with no sound.
Okay, true.
Right? I'm like, what? This is otherworldly. This is like some Lovecraftian shit or something. Who's in that train? An octopus? You know, an octopus. I say.
No, it was just a regular old train with regular old people. I don't even know if people run it. It could have been like a freight, like a tanker train or whatever. Tanker train. You know what I mean?
A tinker toy. Yeah, but people were sitting in the crowd, obviously, to see something. Probably, did it have a title? Was it called The Train Show or some shit?
I honestly think it was called Train Coming in the Station, but I will research that as the show progresses.
I think it was
Someone
called.
out there is probably yelling the answer. It was
Right.
called this, and well, you're not on the show. And maybe if you cracked a couple of jokes, you could be.
Crack a couple of jokes. There's not enough joke. The joke quota has to be at least 10 a show, you know. And you guys are in the 5 era. You're okay, but area, you know, because they're all funny. So, yeah, I bet it was called Train something or Running a Train, you know. Oh wait, Running a Train would be a different type of movie. Imagine.
Let me see if I can get this.
Uh-oh.
I can't. No, I'm not having problem. What, you can't hear me?
Mm-hmm. You said, let me see if I can get this, and you had a serious look on your face, so I thought it was a technical difficulty of sorts.
No, because it automatically went to like Buster Keaton, the general, and that's not what it is. It was.
What about that movie? When the moon is there and the freaking ship goes in its eye? Isn't that that the one?
Oh, it was the first one, but they all came around the same time.
Isn't it called Midsummer Night's Dream or something like that? Or no, that was a play or Shakespeare.
No, that was Shakespeare.
Well, but it has a title similar to that, and it's old. It's an older. It's obviously old.
I think it's called "Here's Mud in Your Eye."
Here's mud in your eye. Okay, I'm gonna look this up. Moon movie. Movie Eye. Rocket Eye. Oh, that's
the famous one too.
A Trip to the Moon. Can't get simpler than that. 1902. 1902. We were close. We said 03 and on. Wow.
The Arrival of the Train. 50 seconds. 1896.
Wow. 1896.
And it's on YouTube for anybody that has 50 seconds to spare.
The Arrival of the Train or on the train?
The Arrival of a Train.
Of a train. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. So people went and they paid. They sat in the theaters to see the arrival of. Oh, I mean, of course, at the time. Damn. Didn't have the plot of A Trip to the Moon, though. You know what I mean?
It literally is a train arriving into the station. But I mean, you got to remember this is groundbreaking. Excuse me, at the time. But I just don't understand. I understand it's nothing they've seen before, so I guess I can't put my mindset to there. But if you've got this piano accompaniment and you're sitting down in chairs, I just can't imagine people hopping out of seats. But again, it was a long ass time ago, and no one had seen this before. So I guess that's the explanation. I guess. Idiots. Idiots.
Speaking of idiots, how about this? People also ask, because I Googled the thing, right? It says, what is the movie A Trip to the Moon about? And I clicked the answer to see what it was. A group of astronomers go on an expedition to the moon. No shit. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for answering that question.
Do you want to know what a train coming to the station is? Or...
I wonder if you could even ask that question online. What is the movie? I don't
What
know.
do you think the symbolism is behind the train coming in? Was it like? Was
It's
it like?
sexual.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly,
It
it's
didn't go
sexual.
through a tunnel. It didn't go through a tunnel.
Doesn't matter. You're still getting trained. The train's coming at you. There's so many sexual things. Man, yeah, that's the way I look at it. Everything has to be sexual. Even a trip to the moon is sexual in the right context. Moon being,
Yeah, yeah. The moon
yeah.
got coming inside.
And it did get coming in time. Right. And it's the moon. Somebody mooned me, it's their ass. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It got it in its brown eye.
I wonder. I wonder if this. Yeah, and then it had pink eye thereafter. I wonder if this has ever been dissected the way that we're dissected it right now. Trip to the moon.
Yes, probably. It's too easy. It's too easy. Of course, we're not that funny. That's just it. Now, a trip to Uranus. How about that? You know what I mean? There's another one. That we should make a sequel.
Yeah.
A trip to Uranus. There has to be a porno called The Trip to Uranus.
That should be our movie. Yeah.
Hold on. If there is not a horror spoof, not a horror. If there is not a porno spoof called A Trip to Uranus, like done in black and white, you know what I mean? And I'll quote from E.T. You get it? Your anus. Anyway, let's see. I'm gonna just Google it. A Trip to Uranus and see what happens. Because if not, somebody's doing something wrong. You know what I mean? And I'll give it both spellings. How long is a trip to Uranus? Okay, hold on. I'm just typing it in. A trip to Uranus. Oh, it's all serious here. How long is it going to take? 4 billion, and it's going to be in 2049. Yeah, that's where our money should go.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's that. Okay. Now I'm going to do the other spelling. A trip to.
Everybody wants to get off fucking Earth so badly that they're investing all this fucking money into space exploration because, which, again, we're not going to see any benefit from, but maybe our great-grandchildren might experience that.
Yeah, well,
we could go to zero orbit now if you want to pay Virgin Airlines or whoever's doing those little, flights into space, and they're thinking of making that like commercial. Whether that be in the nearest future, who knows? Probably so many fucking hoops they have to jump through that I don't suspect that'll be anytime soon. And it could be wrong. Maybe you can, as long as you've got the moolah to get yourself into zero orbit. But I mean, I don't know if I care enough to do that. When they can manipulate that here on Earth, and I don't have to fly into the fucking atmosphere.
Yeah, right.
What did you see when you typed in a trip to Uranus?
Nothing. That's the problem. I looked for it on IMDb. I looked for it just regular. I put a XXX adult next to it. I tried everything I could think of for something to come up. A trip to Uranus. And when I put it in, I put in literally a trip to Uranus adult XXX, thinking if there's a porno, it's going to come up. The first thing says anal trip search, anal trip porn videos, travel anal porn videos, top anal orgasm, mature anal. Does anal sex do long-term damage?
Travel anal porn videos.
That's what it sasays. Watch travel anal porn videos for free on Pornhub. It's probably just
is that like Bang Bus?
There you go. Bang Bus does anal. They don't do anal on Bang Bus though. That's one of the problems I have. And they're too short. You know what I'm tired of? 6-minute pornos. No, seriously. Every time you see pornos now, like the Bang Bus or this or the that or that, everything on there is 6 to 8 minutes. That's just not enough time because there's 2 minutes of dialogue.
Whoa. There's more than enough time for me. But
I want 20 minutes.
What the hell do you need 20 minutes for?
To get to the parts I want to get to because I want to skip through the dialogue, the blowjobs, and this, and I want to get to the meat.
Aren't you just maybe watching like a version of it that's shortened, kind of like an elongated commercial, so that you can then... Whoever fucking subscribe, I got to be honest.
That's the problem.
If you subscribe to porn nowadays, you're an idiot. Just like the audience that jumped out of the fucking train, the moving train video film, because you don't need to. You don't need to. You're wasting your money. But you got to
search. But you have to search to get the good stuff. That's the problem. Now that's the trend. I see it. But I see it all the time. They got 6 minutes video, right? And they go, well, and it's highlights, or it's not even highlights. It's like an excerpt. You know what I mean? But it's like, for the full video, go here, and they want to subscribe. And then they got the other ones like on X videos and go, this person has 50 red X videos and 300 regular, but the reds are the real ones with the full length. So now, and good on them, they're making money finally instead of people just getting it for free. So So, but the dynamic is changing on the porn sites now. That's what I'm saying. It's all 6 and 8 minute videos. No longer can you go on and get like
Because of
recent stuff.
TikTok. TikTok. We should start TikTok, and we should just
Wow.
start doing like little porn versions of TikTok. TikTok.
Dick Doc or Dick Tock?
TikTok.
Yeah, Doc. That's fine. No, I'm
Yeah,
down with
you got to go for the
TikTok.
DD, double D. I got to tell you something. I never realized. I mean, I know we get into porn talk every now and then, and it creeps up. Chris, aka Scott, sent me a message. Goes, "Wow, Dave really loves his porn," and I'm like, "Really? I never really noticed it." Then you bring it up today again. And I'm like, "Holy shit, he's right. He's right."
Well, hold on. I bring it up because I did a search for adult, and Pornhub came up. I didn't just willy-nilly pull out of the sky in the middle of a fucking
But
review.
you willy-nilly pulled out like the fact that everything's gone to 6 to 8 minutes, and you want the old school 20-minute, and like there's a lot of information that you hold regarding what's going on and what's happening in the porn industry.
Well, here's the thing. I've been really watching more lately because my wife has been gone half the time with her job. So now I have more time to do something like that, and I kind of have to do it to get to sleep at night. It's just been my life for the past 30 plus years. So I do have to do something, and porn makes it, actually, honestly, it doesn't make it quick. I can't do without a visual aid anymore. There were years where I could. I cannot. I need the visual aid now.
Your imagination isn't enough anymore?
Because I can't think of anything anymore. See, when I was younger, I could think about people I interacted with, the girls at the job, this and that. You know what I mean? When I was young, it was the girls at school. It was, I can't think, I have to have a fantasy where I place myself into it. I can't just think of a human being and say, oh my God, they're so hot. That doesn't work anymore. It used to work. You know what I mean? When I was younger, it's different now. It's you become desensitized. You get older and things are different, especially for a man. No, I shouldn't say especially, because I don't know. And I do know that females have their own troubles on that, in that department as well as time goes on. But still, so yeah, I have been watching more just because I've had more free time to do it, and it helps me get to sleep at night. I need so much to get to sleep at night. It's out of control, and the dog's been making it difficult. Oh, good God.
Well, I just, not to switch gears, did you, because I know you're a found footage fan, did you see the documentary that was on Shudder that came out like earlier this year?
It's funny you should mention that, because I put it off all this time, and about 4 days ago I started, and I'm probably about an hour into it. And of course, I enjoyed it because they would talk about like each movie, that they wanted to feature, do like 10 minutes on it. But, and I knew
there's nothing crazy. It's funny that you say that. I watched it and it's good. It was good. They talked about some of the favorites, but that's exactly all it is. I don't think I learned anything different about it. It was nice to have a few of the filmmakers say, hey, our movie was actually in development before this one. And so even though we were, widely accused of ripping it off, it was actually in production before we kind of knew of it. One of them being the Zombie Diaries, even though I haven't seen that one. Compared to Diary of the Dead, Romero's is coming out, because it actually benefited them. He said it actually helped them, but it was actually in production beforehand. And of course, The Last Broadcast versus Blair Witch, and there was a couple of other ones that were mentioned as well. I think one that came out because of the success of Paranormal Activity. So the guy, I think it was Apartment 143, and he talks about how they used the security cam footage. Right. Because I never even heard of this one, but that they used security cam footage. But by the time his movie came out, all these other movies had started using security cam footage. So then again, he just, the message boards and whatever, they just drag people through the mud because that's what people love to do. But it was interesting to see the love or the respect and the following that Megan is Missing has gotten over the years, and his take and his description of what he was talking about has sort of happened more recently. But so maybe there is enough stuff, because I was just saying I didn't really learn anything, but the Megan is Missing and some of those other tidbits were good. But I mean, it is an hour and a half documentary, and really it just takes you kind of through the history of it. I think if you know found footage, there's not much you don't know from a historical standpoint. They point references to Peeping Tom, they point reference to Cannibal Holocaust, of course, and everything else. So if you're a diehard fan,
I'm tired of Peeping Tom getting all this. No, because it's not the first slasher, and it's not the first POV, and it's not the first found footage. I'm tired of Peeping Tom getting all of this praise because of a 1 minute sequence in the movie for in a couple different times. I understand that that's the first time most people did see it, and they wanted to give some credit to things like that. And I didn't mean to say slasher, but they say the first POV thing, but it's really not. And it's also not what they said in this thing. It's not found footage because it's filmed, and the guy is literally holding the camera up. It's not presented as, you know what? It's presented as any. It's just look at it this way: if Norman Bates in the middle of Psycho would have picked up a camera and put it on his thing, and killed somebody through it or something, and it's filmed through a camera lens, that doesn't make it a found footage at all. Well, because it's a regular
you're right.
movie.
You're right, but what they're saying is, and again, there's two arguments here or two discussions here, and one of them you kind of hit on. People tell him isn't the first, maybe for him to put the physical camera up to direct it at somebody to show that it's being filmed and it's POV, great, but that's already a play off of POV, point of view, that's been used specifically not just in Hitchcock films, but of course he's famous for it in Hitchcock films, and I think Orson Welles uses it as well. Like there are many movies that have used it in the past, but point of view was the original, so it stems from POV. POV being that you're as the audience have been put in this character's shoes. So this is taking it maybe one step further by actually having them mount a camera on to show and then put you in that position of the killer, even though you kind of were put in the position of the killer, so to speak, in the shower sequence in Psycho. Even though there's multiple takes and views, you also get, because of all the ways it's shot and whatever, you're kind of putting that scene in that position as well. But, and that's what Halloween did. That's what Friday the 13th did. I think actually Roger Ebert criticized Friday the 13th, if I'm remembering correctly. Again,
that's for sure.
There's a lot that's rambling around and rolling around in my brain here, that he despised it because it put the audience in the shoes of the killer. And if that was one of the critiques of Friday the 13th, then that's where it's a success. And that's exactly what all these found footage people are talking about. Yet they never credit Friday the 13th for that, because Friday the 13th was already a ripoff of Halloween and whatever. But it's funny that Ebert pulled the criticism out of Friday the 13th, making you the killer.
You know why? Because Friday the 13th, and let me flash back a second. Carpenter, by the way, did credit Hitchcock. When you watch the commentary for Halloween, and I saw this years ago, the first one I heard from, when he talked about the opening POV stuff and everything else, he immediately says, he credited Hitchcock. And people said, oh, he did this because he wanted to avoid Black Christmas. And this. Well, it doesn't matter. Hitchcock did do it before Black Christmas. And I'm going to say this. Black Christmas did it in a scene, okay? And the opening scene as well, climbing the trellis, doing the stuff and whatever, and a couple shots. And Halloween did it in the opening scene. Here's the difference, though. Friday the 13th did it multiple times in the same movie. This is the difference between Friday the 13th and its predecessors, is that it showed gore on just about every kill, and it showed POV on just about every kill. And that is why it was what it was. That's why it became the big hit, and everybody aped off it. And it's grossly neglected historically for the impact it had. And that's what bothers me. And go back to the summer series. Once again, it didn't make it. 3 other movies in 1980 made 3 movies had to be picked. The first time around they picked The Shining, of course, fine. And then the second movie they picked was The Fog. And I remember listening to their recording. I'm like, well, I dig The Fog, but come on.
I thought that was 79. Maybe it was 80.
It's 80. So now they have a second chance at it, and they do another thing, and 2 more movies come to the top, and they don't even discuss Friday the 13th. They discuss Cannibal Holocaust and something else, and I forgot what it was, and Cannibal Holocaust went through. Fine, great movie, significant. I get it. But Friday the 13th neglected again, constantly neglected again for historical impact at least. Now, I love it anyway, as do you.
You know what? There are, and we know this exists. It always has. It existed back in the day. And then it seemed that the series got some love, at least the early installments, maybe even the first 4, and then you could throw 6 in there for some fans that still think that one's good. I know you don't,
right?
But you know what I mean, or that you know what I mean,
right?
But then ultimately, now it's seeming like it's coming back full circle, where they're like, there's too much praise on this because it's broken out of the horror realm, and and more mainstream have come to love it. And I know
You're
that this
right.
is the case for The Shining as well, for the most part. So maybe my argument, maybe my argument's not really that valid. But ultimately, it seems like now more horror fans are shitting on the series again, or not giving it its due justice. I mean, because like you said, Halloween was a success. There were already other filmmakers looking to rip it off and work on it. Friday the 13th just emerged as a victor, if you will, based
Right.
on what we got and the success of it. But there, as much as Sean Cunningham, I still will argue. It's funny. Warren Money mentioned this years ago. He hates that first one because he says Sean Cunningham is a hack director, and I'm not. He's not wrong. To be honest, maybe hack again. We've used that word. I've used that word a lot in the last few episodes, but maybe that's going a little too far because he was able to achieve something. But because I don't agree with that. I think Friday the 13th is great. But when you actually look at
Of
a lot of
course.
the movies he did, they're
I
all
get you.
ripoffs. They're all ripoffs. And like Spring Break is not a good movie. Like try to watch that movie. It is not a good movie. A Stranger's Watching is arguable, but again, everything seems to be kind of a ripoff. But what he did well in Friday the 13th, and it was a great ripoff because I guess it did its own thing. It took the idea that was laid out, the groundwork, if you will, the blueprints, if you will, of the slasher, but then did what you said, which is stick with more POV, stick with the creepy music. Well, I mean, Halloween did that too, but then amp up everything that came before it and then add the gore. And it
Right.
seemed like it just encompassed everything at
And the
that time.
mystery. And the murder mystery. Who's
And
killing? That's something else. Taken from Giallo, that's fine. But still, Halloween, we knew who the killer was. There was no
yeah,
question of it. Now, okay, Black Christmas, we did not. So I'll give you some props there. We don't know who the killer is in Black Christmas. The problem is the way they made it so painfully obvious that it has to be this guy, and then we find out it's not, which is again, they played that card too strong, and that's a bit of one of my critiques. However, I'm still, we're talking about a movie. These movies are all like 9 out of 10 for me or higher. Every movie we've talked about for the past 2-3 minutes, they're great movies. Okay, so I'm not knocking them as a whole at all, but I'm still gonna have
yeah,
a critique. But in Friday, all that came together, and here's what it is. There's a lot of toxicity, just period. There's toxic this and there's toxic that. There's toxic fandom. There's so many things that are toxic. What you say about Friday the 13th, people are rebelling against franchise films. Mostly because of what's being done with Halloween, how painfully obvious that this is a cash grab, but everything is. But there is a lot of complaints about Halloween and Halloween Kills and what's going on with it. And I think it's led to a lot of, the ball starts rolling about franchise films, and all of a sudden, okay, well, franchise films, fuck them. You know what I mean? So it's like people are like, it's got to be independent horror now, or in the past, it has to be exploitation type stuff from the 70s and stuff, or the 80s, some of it, or foreign. Otherwise, but if it played in a theater, or it did that, oh yeah, fuck that movie. Which I find a very,
well,
it's
it is
toxic.
bizarre.
Yeah,
And,
it sucks.
and again, that's part of this industry. Whether you go back to the Universal movies and they have the Dracula series, the Frankenstein series, the crossovers, everything existed back in the fucking heyday. Like, well, not heyday. We call the heyday now the 70s and 80s and whatever. But I'm talking about the original round of horror
The
cinema.
30s,
When you look
40s, yeah.
when you look at those classic monster movies, it was already happening. And then
Yes.
Hammer did it again later
Yes.
on.
And people blow the
And
hammer. You know why? Foreign.
and you
And good
can't blow
acting.
one without blowing the other.
Back to porno. You can't blow one without the other. If you're in the middle, and you're a woman in a porno, and there's one guy to the right, one guy to the left, you can't just blow the right and not the left guy.
I'm not saying exactly. You got to get both nuts in the mix too.
Come
The
on.
I can't say you cannot dislike these movies because
Hey.
we know that we've argued the Friday movies were made to turn a buck, no differently than these new Halloween movies. But that's always been the case, hence the term franchise. Like
Right.
it's meant to churn them out and to make money, kind of give you more of the same. And the ones that always deviate are typically the ones that are usually destroyed by the fans, the fan base, with certain fan base coming and showing praise. Those ones being Halloween 3. Back in the day, I'd be shocked if you heard people say that they loved it. you might find one or two. Now it's had
It's
this
different.
cult following that people are like, oh, I love it. With
Well, we
Brandon even
called it.
thinking hailing it his favorite of the series.
Yeah.
And
We
then,
called it
you
2
know,
years ago. In the
yeah,
early days of this podcast, and when I first got into it, and with Skeleton Crew, Banana Laser, and etc., I remember saying, the pendulum seemed to be swinging a little bit, and more people are coming on. I think it's going to
the
continue,
Dick
and
Doc.
it did. Dick Doc, and it definitely did. But I always want to make one point, and then go back to what you're saying. The Friday the 13th thing is this: people look at it as a franchise, and they knock it for it because it's a franchise. Problem is this: they're not putting their thinking caps on at all, because Friday the 13th was an independent movie. It was an
Yeah,
indie film that
the
made a
first movie. Yeah,
shitload of money. Correct. So you want to knock Friday the 13th, you're knocking all the stuff you're supposed to be loving about the genre. This is the little
yeah.
fucking engine the little movie that made it to theaters because the guy put an ad in Variety for a logo and a freaking title of Friday the 13th, and then made the movie and then shopped it, and then it got picked up by Paramount and it was distributed. That is an independent film, a success story. So.
And to continue off that, okay, maybe you didn't need 2, 3, 4, up to 12, whatever. Maybe
Fine.
you personally, you the listener or whoever that doesn't like it, doesn't need it. But you can't be sure or cannot deny the impact that it had on the horror industry to maybe actually put a spotlight and allow more movies to be made. Not just slasher, even though that's what they got, but then you wouldn't have gotten those. So then maybe you wouldn't have been able to get your The Burning and everything else, even though they say The Burning was made before, whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like that
yeah.
whole thing. And then it also opens up the option for other horror films, whether it be, highbrow or a horror, whatever it may be. It allowed for that too.
Yes.
That's what it allows. And now, like, no differently than anything, because there are movies that are product that are meant just to turn a buck, and that's, to be honest, majority of them. And then there's art.
Sure.
Sometimes they mix. A lot of times they don't.
Well, right. Well, look at this. The VHS era, the 80s, you have to credit horror and Friday the 13th's impact for a lot of that. Because if all of a sudden horror doesn't become this hot thing, which it doesn't without Friday the 13th and the impact, you're not going to see. Imagine, like, okay, I'm going to go back to my day. Okay, now VHS, when they first came out and we had our first stores that were called Video Factory out here, the locals, right? There was a couple around. We had to go to Buffalo to get them. There was none. I grew up in North Tonawanda, which is a suburb, okay? So there was nothing in North Tonawanda or Amherst or all. We had to go to downtown Buffalo to go to the Video Factory to go rent a movie. It was the video store. It was a big one, but it was only one, and maybe one or two more followed the next year. But I'm going to say it's at least 1984, at least, before we see not the arrival, but we see the popularity of the video stores coming up all over the place. And when I'm going to the store, which I could literally ride my bike to, and I'm renting all these movies. Now think about it. This is 1984. If this doesn't happen, what's going to be on those shelves without the horror boom of the 80s in the horror section? Just shit from the 70s, which, by the way, a lot of it that's foreign horror wasn't on VHS here. And what? Universal Classics? Like, when you go in the horror section, because I did it every day, when you're in the horror section, it's like 50% of it is 80s horror. Because by 1984, everything that was made between, the late 70s and the early 80s, they're all lined up on the shelves. That's what you're seeing. You're not seeing all that other stuff. So does VHS take off as much as do we all have these memories for the people that lived it of the excellent horror section in the mid 80s? If something like Friday the 13th doesn't come, horror gets popular, because that's what happens. One movie gets popular, everybody says, okay, well, let's take horror serious now, at least for, turning a buck. And now they start making movies, independent movies, studio movies. They pick things up. And now we see not just slashers, but we've been through it. The horror boom of the 80s. That starts with Friday the 13th and the impact it had. And I don't know, maybe I'm blowing it too much, but it seems to me, and in 1980, I'm just a baby. So I mean, I'm very young, so I didn't see it happen. You know what I mean? But I can document what I saw from the time I was like, 11 and 12 and on. That I could tell.
Put it this way: when the impact, that's what got me into horror, as we talk about. One of the things that got me into horror was seeing previews of that, and the previews scaring the shit out of me. Yet, that year, Friday the 13th outpaced both The Shining and Dress to Kill, which were supposed to be the A caliber horror films of the year. I'm not saying it's better, but I'm just saying it outperformed them. So whether you care about this or not, because people say I don't care about that, but then I have to say, well, why don't you care about that? Because the success of Friday the 13th led to more things being made and whatever.
Right.
More so than just the sequels. And so I think it does matter, because if Friday the 13th wasn't a hit, that could have changed how the 80s unfolded.
100%. What do we have without it? Do we have Return of the Living Dead? Do we have Reanimator? Do we have all these movies? You know what I mean? These lower budget independent movies with by the way, maestro effects artists coming in at the helm, and soundtracks and composers and just all the stuff when you look at 80s horror. I mean,
Yeah.
it starts with something like that. I mean, you can argue, Alien in 79 and Dawn of the Dead and things like that. Things are taken off. And Halloween was 78. So Halloween really did. Not to discredit Halloween, because not at all. Halloween was also a lower budget film that was independent, that became a hit.
That's what I wanted to get back to, because
there you go.
Sorry, you mentioned Halloween and him crediting Hitchcock, and people said, "Oh, he's just trying to discredit Black Christmas because of the timing." I'm like, well, no, it's in the names of the characters of Halloween, Loomis. It's in the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is Janet Leigh's daughter. It's all in the DNA of the damn film. And again, yes, Black Christmas existed, but I think we've talked about on this show, and I think it's well documented, that it wasn't necessarily a commercial hit when it came out in 74.
No,
and it
not
had
at
some
all.
title changes and whatever.
Right.
Most likely, he may have not even seen it, or may have heard about it, but it was that movie that had the guy that the calls are coming from in the house, and that was the end of it. And so Carpenter was already busy, coming out of school and doing like Dark Star and whatever, and Assault on Precinct 13. Like, he was already making movies. So, again, maybe there was a little bit of, maybe that played into it a bit. We'll never know, unless Carpenter said, I never saw the film. But of course it was Hitchcock, because he already credited him as being a major influence. Thanks.
Well, here's the thing, though. There's that infamous story. What is that green thing you're drinking? Somebody squeezing beans for you?
Yeah, no, my wife brought me down our protein drink for the morning.
A smoothie? Oh, okay.
A smoothie.
Yeah. Right on. No, but there's that famous story that people like to reference about a conversation had between Carpenter and Clark. And I knew somebody was going to say that's listening to it. Say, hold on, what are you guys talking about? This and this. So I wanted to reference it. But here's the thing. Here's why it's not true. Because the idea for Halloween, if you watch any Halloween documentary, it was started by, I don't know if it was a cod or, hold on, let me think about it.
I thought it was Erwin Yablans or whatever.
Okay, Yablans. Okay.
Yablans.
Yes.
Yabang.
It was wherever it goes, Yablans.
Yablans.
Right. Yablans. So Yablans.
Yablans.
Right. He had the idea for the Halloween part. He said, Halloween, I looked it up to see if it was owned by anything. But yeah, Babysitter Murders was the idea. So people want to say this, and this. But anyway, let me see if I can find it up. What do they have in common? Okay, this is what it says. Bob Clark. The late Bob Clark relayed the tale. I never intended to do a sequel to Black Christmas. I did a film about 3 years later. Started a film with John Carpenter. It was his first film for Warner Brothers. He asked me if I was ever going to do a sequel, and I said no. I was through with horror. I didn't come into the business to do just horror. He said, well, what do you do if you did a sequel? I said it would be the next year, and the guy would have actually been caught, escaped from a mental institution, go back to the house, and they would start all over again, and I would call it Halloween. Okay, somebody's full of shit here. Either Bob Clark made that up, or Yablans made that up. I'm intended to believe the Yablans story, because do you think somebody told him that? Hey, listen, guys, there's a big rumor about Bob Clark and Carpenter having this conversation. Hey, Mr. Yablans, could you please go on there and say that it was your idea and throw Halloween out? Do you think they give a fuck? Why would Yablans and fucking Akkads and Carpenter give a fuck? They don't. This is gossip, right?
This doesn't solve the argument, but who are you going to believe? The director of Baby Geniuses or the director of The Thing, The Fog, Halloween, Assault on Precinct 13, Escape from New York, Christine, or Baby Geniuses 1A and 2? I actually don't have a clue if he directed it. Baby Geniuses 1. Bob
I don't
Clark?
know.
I'm going to look it up while we're talking.
Well, here is a follow-up. Here, okay?
I'm not trying to take away from Bob Clark. Please.
No.
That wasn't the point of that. That was a joke. Because,
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
I fucking love Black Christmas, as you will know. And, hey,
Yes.
I really like Porky's, too.
Damn straight. Porky's 1, not Porky's 2.
Yeah.
Porky's also. Yes. Okay. Definitely Porky's. So, this is, okay, there's a follow-up.
And
Did
A
he
Christmas
steal
Story.
the-
Holy shit, I forgot that
Wow.
Christmas Story.
Obviously, shit. So, did he steal the idea from
Baby
Clark?
Geniuses.
Clark didn't think so. Yeah, that. This
He
isn't
did it.
one.
He directed both of them. I'm sorry for cutting you
I
off.
know he did.
Baby Geniuses and Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
Hey, whatever. Hey, you turn a buck. Big deal. Carpenter did freaking other stuff too
For sure.
to turn a buck. You know, so be it. And these guys do it all the time. Look at freaking Eli Roth making a kids movie, and someone else did it recently, and Rob Zombie doing the, well, it's still horror kind of really. Don't even talk about the Munsters. I'm so tired of the fucking Munsters and the Addams Family. I could fucking puke all over this floor right now. I'm so tired of hearing about the Addams Family reboot,
God.
the Munsters reboot, the Wednesday fucking whatever her name is. Adams, I'm tired of hearing about these things. I hope they all no, I shouldn't say I hope they flop. I'm just tired of hearing about them. So now, getting back to this story. So now there's more. That was Speaking with Icons of Fright many years ago. That's what Bob Clark said. So now there's another thing that Bob Clark said later on. Okay, the truth is John didn't copy Black Christmas. He wrote a script, directed the script, did the casting. Halloween is his horror movie, and besides, the script came to him already titled anyway. So now it's like he's going back on it. But hold on. He liked Black Christmas and may have been influenced by it, but in no way did John Carpenter copy the idea. 15 other people at the time had thought to do a movie called Halloween, but the script came to John with that title on it. So now, how Halloween came to be, from what we've heard over the years, this is the article, is that producers Yablans and Mustafa approached Carpenter to direct a movie about a killer stalking babysitters. Carpenter and Deborah Hill agreed, beginning on a script called The Babysitter Murders. It was reported that Yablans, who then suggested the movie be retitled Halloween and set on Halloween night. So, WTF? I mean, seriously, what is that all about? Clark says one thing here, and then later on kind of retracts it. So did that conversation happen or not? That's what's weird. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it did. It seems like he was bullshitting the first time. Maybe there was a little rift between the two of them for some reason.
Absolutely. Like when you feel like one movie's been heralded and has like all these sequels and whatever, whether you wanted that or not. I mean, Bob Clark had a great career, so I don't think a decent career, so I don't think he's really going to be complaining. But you know, maybe feeling like his film didn't get the what it deserved. I don't know. I never really thought, like, it's interesting to look at it from a retrospective standpoint. We will never know the absolute truth. But
no,
again, two separate films. Does it take your enjoyment away from either of them? I guess if you're, well, it might for some people, but
not
I
me.
feel
I enjoy
sorry
them
for
both.
them. Exactly.
I
Imagine that. I
can't.
can't enjoy this. He just totally ripped this off from whatever. Well, then you won't, again, as long as you're consistent with their thoughts, then they must hate Friday the 13th because then it ripped off Halloween. Or maybe they like Friday the 13th because they said, fuck Halloween. It ripped off Black Christmas and Friday the 13th is great.
Okay, so do they hate?
Fuck you to Halloween.
Do they hate The Burning? Do they hate anything that kind of ripped off Friday the 13th?
Who knows?
If it's good, they like it. If it's not, they don't.
There are fans of slasher and there are fans that are not, and that's just the reality of it. The fact that we've got all these subgenres within horror, I mean, so be it. There's more to enjoy. And I don't mean to switch gears, but I always talk in extremes. I think we all do on the show a little bit, at least a degree, an extreme degree.
Sometimes.
Sorry, talking extremes to a degree seems kind of weird. But ultimately, about the state of horror this year, and that this year's ho-hum. I got to tell you,
I'm fine with it.
I'm really liking this year. I'm not loving it, but I think
Making
I've rated
it
more
out.
movies. You know how I always seem to get stuck in that 7.5 and your guys are like, come on. Maybe I'm just being more lenient this year. I don't know, but I have more movies that feel like it's hit that 8 range, that it's going to be hard to figure out which ones I want to put. I'm going to have to do the rewatch thing that you do and whatever that I try to avoid. I only try to rewatch certain ones, but I'm actually having a very good time with this year. It's not groundbreaking. It's not 2018, but I actually think overall it's on par with last year, and it could possibly even be better. We'll see how it plays out, because there's still a lot of movies that are coming out.
Well, listen, I'm down with that because I don't think last year was anything to write home about. I've been saying that it kind of fell off a little bit, 2020 and on. Like I think the teens were it, but it's like, but again, and I've said this several times.
I mean, we can blame that about COVID a bit, but
you could, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Ideas, but no, I've said this several times. I'm going to repeat myself again. The 80s boom only lasted itself 5-6 years, and then it tailed off, and then it really tailed off, and then it didn't come back for another dozen years after that. The 70s were the 70s. That's fine. To me, the 70s started slow, got big, and they had like a 5-6 year boom. Okay, think about what we've had. I'm gonna say that 2014 is when things really took off. So we've had that boom, but we haven't had it tally off the way it has in the past. I'm just happy that movies are still good now. I'm not expecting 2015, 16, and 17 forever. That's preposterous to think. So because I've lived through it, right?
But we could, because there's a major difference now. Shit's way cheaper. And I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to add to it, because I think you're right. You can make a fucking movie on your phone. We talked about Black Magic and Red. People are doing it. We might not be watching them, but those are what are on Tubi. I'm not trying to take away from Tubi, because Tubi's got some good stuff too. But if you dig, or you don't even have to dig that deep, scrape the surface, you get to it. Prime, if you go a little further than the ones that are showcased, there are a lot of shitballs out there. Now, again, that there could be some diamonds in the rough. And that's what you've got your Mark Nados for, and what Heather and Scott have been doing. I don't know if they've been as hard hitting this year. Maybe they have been, and I'm just out of the loop. But they'll go digging. I've stopped trying to find a diamond in the rough. I'll work off of this package. Like I said, I'm going to probably come in at like 60 movies or so, maybe 65 movies for the year. And now I think just based on my current watch list and what's left, and I'm happy with that. I feel like, when I was at 100 and something last year, great from a numbers standpoint, but there was a ton of shit. There.
There you go. Where I was lower, Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. And this is what we do. We talk about it. But I'm just saying, now you've got people that are able to create, and hopefully with that, you are getting some with some skill, and then you're getting some that maybe are going to be turds. And some might be an under-exaggerated. Maybe it'll be a ton of turds, but hopefully there's enough talent out there to allow these stories to flow. I mean, we're getting things like Shudder has been really churned. There's a lot of 2022 films on there, and as usual, they're split. Almost all of them. All of them are split.
For the most part, they are. There's no except the one. Isn't what do you call it on Shudder? The big hit, which I haven't watched. See, I'm saving these because I know they're supposed to be good.
The Sadness?
Yes, that's Shudder, and that's unanimously.
I want to talk about that for just a split second without going into detail because of you. I'm just talking about the premise, of the movie. And again, if you don't know, I'm just going to say I've read this. I'm not the first to say it. And the first thing I thought of when I was watching this movie is like, this seems like a huge ripoff of the comic Crossed. And I always, when I read that comic, Crossed kind of was like, in my opinion, a spinoff of The Walking Dead, but how can we make it even more vicious? And it was more vicious, and it was like jaw-dropping. Like I think I've talked about it on the show before, where I'd be reading the comic going, holy shit, my mouth would drop. Like, did I just read that? and I'd have
Awesome.
to reread it. And the last time that happened was when I read American Psycho, where I'm like, did I just read what I read? Like, holy shit, that was
Wow.
intense. And I have to go back. And Crossed hit that same level where I'm like, this is really upsetting, but I can't believe what they're getting away with in a comic book or a graphic novel form. And there's no affiliation with the sadness, but the sadness tore a major page from the idea of Crossed.
Oh,
Like a major page. Like,
wow.
I call it a ripoff, but does that take
Interesting.
away from the enjoyment of it? I don't know, because maybe we would have never gotten a Crossed movie, but we've got the sadness, which is a Crossed movie, no question. No question. And so if you're a fan of that film and you like reading graphic novels, check out the series. I think there's a couple of offshoots called Crossed.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. And I'm glad you're taking the high road and not being one of those jerk off podcasters who sometimes you hear that'll discredit the movie and they'll say, "Oh, I liked it better when it was crossed in the comics." 4 out of 10. Or
First thing I thought of was
Yeah.
I had to stop the movie and actually have to research. I'm like, is it based off Crossed? And when I found out it wasn't, then I got into the weeds a little bit, where it went into Reddit and people saying it pretty much is Crossed without being crossed. But there was some people that took that route, like, oh no, I can't believe they got away with it. I'm shocked because I thought they'd get sued, but I didn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie, because I'm like, wow, we're actually getting a film version of that comic that I was like adamant that there's no way you could turn this into a movie without it being like, without you having to censor it somehow. But they managed to do it with the sadness.
Wow, man. Wow.
Now,
well,
having said that, the sadness didn't blow me away. I will say that I really loved it, but it's not a 10 out of 10.
well, no, I'm not expecting.
Or
a 10
it's not even a 9
10.
out of 10 for me. But
Okay.
it's high, but it's just not that high.
That's fine. Well, it's still on that area where I'm putting it off, because movies that I don't know why I do this, but I do. When I know that a movie is genuinely really loved, I want to save it, because it's like, okay, I know this is good, so why waste it now? Let's put it there for a little bit, let it simmer for a while, and in the meantime, I'm going to play my game and do my thing and watch the movies I choose to watch. Like right now, I've watched 26. I started 27 last night, and that was the Orphan movie, and I was only a half hour into it, and I had to stop. And I was on board with it so far. But either way.
Oh, just stop because I thought you didn't like it. But no.
Oh, no, not because of that. For other reasons. So I started a little bit of that. That would have been like movie 27. Now, if I look at my Letterboxd thing, now the Black Phone is another one that I know has been heralded, so I do plan to watch that one. But I have my watch list here. I'm going to tell you what's on it. Glorious, which at first, I just so happened to see the first 4 or 5 reviews come in, and 2 of them really didn't like it at all. So I thought, okay, well, maybe they shit the bed here. Maybe this isn't a good movie. It was Rebecca McKendry, from Shockwaves or whatever. And her first movie was just okay. We reviewed it. All the creatures were stirring. So, and then I read something.
I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Setting, but, right.
Yeah.
And it was a one-place setting, and it was boring, and this and that, but it was Lovecraftian. So then Jamie said she watched it and she loved it, and so did Brian. And I'm like, well, are they just loving it because it's Lovecraftian? I'm like, I don't think they would do that, because I know them enough to know that they don't love everything Lovecraftian. So, okay. Then they talked about this. Then I heard more people come rolling in. I said, okay, I'm going to have to put this on the list. So that's on the list now. A movie called Keeping Company.
I watched Glorious.
Oh, okay. Yay or nay? Okay.
Yay. Yeah. Yay. Again, Jamie and Brian went to the 5 out of 5. I'm not there. But again, it made me rethink stuff, and I'll get to that after your list. I don't want to take it away, because I do this to you all the fucking time now.
Oh, dude.
I always. That's what Brandon was also good for, is mediating the fact that I always fucking cut you off. So.
No, I probably do it to you too. No, it's nothing.
You don't really.
What the hell was I gonna say about that?
Oh, you're talking about your Glorious, and then you're getting into your other.
Right, but the 5 out of 5. The 5 out of 5. No, see, my mind goes elsewhere. So now the 5 out of 5s. I told Jamie I really want to see her list, because she probably has 800 5 out of 5s. No, it's true. They do. Like, and a lot of times I can tell by the title it's going to be a 5 out of 5 before they even get, like, if they watch anything that's a classic, You know what I mean? It's automatically going to be a 5 that they're into is going to be a 5 out of 5. I don't even have to read or look. I know. You know what I mean? There's so many that are. But she probably has like 805 out of 5s. But I want to know how many of those 5 out of 5s. I want to see 100. I want to see what the ones you really love. Since I'm only getting 5. And that's the deal. That's what I try to explain. A 5 out of 5 rating tells me something, but it doesn't tell me enough. It doesn't tell me how much you really love it. That's why I like the 1 to 10, because it's like now there's different levels. Like to me, an 8 out of 10 and higher means great. How great? How great do you think it is? Like me, I only have like 53 10 out of 10s out of all these movies. So those are that's it. These are the ones. I mean, you might hear me say, well, okay, this is a 10 out of 10, and so is this, and this is a 9, but I got a million 9s probably. Not a million, but you know what I mean. But I want to know. I really am curious to see how much does Jamie love these movies, because I know she's given so many 5s. So I really want to see her list almost as much as more than anybody's almost. I hope she does it. I hope more people do it, by the way, because more are starting to come in, and it's been extended, but not as much as I would have liked and as came last time. You know what I mean? So, because this is a bigger list. Now we need 200 movies, and because we got
the
so
last
much
time though, the last time we weren't on Patreon only, and again I cut you off. The last time we were leading up to Patreon only, but we weren't there yet. So now we've been Patreon only, well, since episode 101. So it will be 100. But now the crowd that is getting the older episodes, they're about 50 episodes behind. By the time we're at episode 200. They might only be, I don't even know where they'll be, but they won't be that far behind, because I'm releasing one a week in hopes of getting that more of a narrow time frame between the newest episode and the one where everybody, the mainstream crowd can listen to.
Yeah.
What a pretentious way. You know what but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. Yes. But here's the thing. I think a lot of it are other podcasters that submitted one last time and have not this time. There's at least 5 or 6 I could think of off the top of my head. Well,
I think maybe humor either.
It's too daunting a task, I think, for some people. I don't know why it is to do a top 100. People are kind of stressed out by it. How could you do a top 100 for the 2010?
I haven't finished it yet.
I haven't finished mine either, to be completely transparent here, but I'm on the cusp. I have like 8 others, but then I want to look at. I see what I have is these 2 lists that see, and you're never in the chat, so you missed out on all this good stuff. But like, there are 2 lists that Tyler has talked about in the chat, and I saved them. And one of them was the top 250 horror movies rated on Letterboxd, and I said the top whatever 100 movies or 200 movies on IMDb by rating. So I'm going by those and seeing, just in case I missed something or this or that. And okay, there's some interesting things on there. Some foreign ones that I have never seen, and I have been watching movies I've never seen. I watched the black and white ones. I watched the Baby Carriage to Hell. I watched this and that and other ones. And
And is it going to make your list? Like, just tell me that. Is it going to make your list?
Well, I didn't finish it, and I was about 15, 20 minutes into it. It was just moving too slow for me. And what I mean by moving too slow is I had recently just watched the other silent movie right before, which was Caligari, whatever it is. And that...
the Cabinet of?
Yes, and that was paced just fine, and everything else was good about it. But the thing is, in this other one, in the Phantom Carriage, people would be talking for like 3 minutes, okay, having dialogue, and then it would go to the title board where you see the dialogue, and it would be like 2 sentences. I'm like, well, wait a minute. All that other dialogue there, we don't know what the hell was said. And I understand it's the product of the time and everything else, but I feel that's kind of a hindrance where it played out well in the other one. You know what I mean? And again, it was just moving too slow in general. For a movie to be like an hour and 50 minutes like that one is in the silent era, I know you better kind of wow me somehow. And it just didn't draw me in. Like Caligari had it had the aesthetic. Have you seen it? The way it looks and everything.
Way back though.
Okay.
Not even way back actually. Let me rephrase that. I think they put it on Shudder, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure you can see it on YouTube, but I think they put it on Shudder. They're doing some of the old classics. And again, no questions asked. Nosferatu, 1922 is my most watched silent movie.
I'll watch it again.
That's just the reality of the situation in my life.
Okay.
I don't know if I've watched any of them more than that. I know I haven't, but even more than once will be, I'm not sure. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I guess, would be the only other one because I watched it way back in film school, and I watched it when Shudder released it, whether it been a year or two ago. I think it's still on Canadian Shudder at the very least. But again, not. I liked it. I'm just trying to think of any other silent horror films that I've watched. Oh, of course, Phantom of the Opera. I forgot that the last time. Phantom with Lon Chaney Sr. So like that one is also great.
Okay,
I like
list
Phantom
worthy.
Of the Opera.
Are those two movies list worthy? Do you think?
Could be. Okay. Nosferatu and Phantom of the Opera in my mind.
Okay.
But again, so that should tell you something in my mind.
Yeah, right.
Like I hadn't heard of this Baby Carriage movie. Why hadn't I heard of it? Maybe it's just me, but we studied silent film at school. I don't remember it ever being mentioned. I've read books about things I've never mentioned. And so I feel like this has become a product of it was a forgotten film. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And you know, like just like we've had all these ones in history now, how Possession is loved now for the 1981 movie,
right.
And whatever. Like movies that, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I know my tone might seem like I am, but I'm
People
just saying that, you know what, I'm just going with the fact, I put it this way, Possession won't be on my list. I will try the Baby Carriage from Hell. Like I said, I still keep saying I'm going to do it. I haven't watched it. I just can't imagine. And if it is on my list, I will explain the reasons as to why, but I'd be shocked because it would dethrone something that has like Nosferatu and Phantom of the Opera, and then probably a third would be the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Those would be the ones that I would think would be, no question, they have a chance to be on that list. If I wanted to make sure that I'm taking something from every era, like and not just from modern horror, and I want to be a little more and pick from the actual broader spectrum of shit. But again, I don't want to. I guess I am crediting Baby Carriage or the Phantom Carriage, but I don't mean to. It just, I don't remember or recall this movie ever being discussed. Now, does that matter? No, it shouldn't matter. I should watch it and then just make a judgment call. But I'm just saying it's weird how it's popped up, and I think it's dead wrong. I don't know.
22 Shots reviewed it. That's the first time I heard about it, and I've heard a few people talk about it since. That's why it came into my forefront. I don't know, but let me tell you this: for shits and giggles, I'm going to tell you the top 20, and I'm not going to read my list about the saved fucking movies. This is actually more prudent. I like this idea here.
Letterboxd of what? I'm sorry.
No. Letterboxd tops 250 horror films. Okay, let me tell you what they are in top 20. Number 1, The Thing. Number 2, Psycho. Number 3, Alien. Number 4, The Shining. So far, we're okay. I get that. Now, here's where things get a little weird.
No Dawn of the Dead yet, though.
Number 5, The Cremator, 1969.
Sounds like a
foreign
porno.
film. I don't know what it is, but it's a foreign film. Okay. Number 6, Get Out. Okay. Get Out. Okay, whatever. Number 7, Demons.
Why am I Oh, wow.
No.
Demons, nice.
No.
Oh, Demon?
No. Hold on. Demons, 1971, directed by Toshio Matsumoto. I've never seen
that
it.
one.
Okay. 8, Rosemary's Baby. 9, Quaidon. 10, Possession. Okay, here we go. You see?
Oh, my fuck.
Well, here's the thing about Letterboxd.
Oh, my fuck.
Film buffs, major film buffs are the people that are on Letterboxd. And
Dude, we're major film buffs. Let's be honest. And the people listening to major film buffs, fucking Possession. I tried with that movie. I can't do it. I don't give a shit about the symbolism. Give me a movie as well. And if you're putting that much weight on symbolism, then you fucking look at a piece of art then and critique. I'm being an asshole now because you can do that you should be able to do that with film as well. But I feel like the movies somewhat have to be for me, it's got to be enjoyable.
Well,
if I don't get any enjoyment from it, it's gone. It's gone.
That's fair. But other people may have watched Possession and got everything they needed. Maybe they all the symbolism worked for them, and they were able to put every puzzle piece together and construct their own narrative.
Yeah.
So
No,
God
I
bless
said
them.
I was being an asshole. Yeah.
No,
you're
it's
right.
fine. So,
You're right.
you don't know. Now, okay, 11 is Black Swan, which that's fine. That is a 10 out of 10 for me.
I love that. Yeah, I
Right?
love it too.
Number 12, whatever
I
happened
would put
to
Requiem for a Dream before that though, but that's just me.
Oh,
But
interesting. Okay, that's fair. Number 12, whatever happened to Baby Jane, which I enjoy. I don't know if it's. I didn't think about it at any point making my list.
My wife loves that. Carrie loves that movie.
I might have to watch it again because I recently watched Mommy Dearest with my wife and daughter and got into this big discussion about that and those actresses and other shows we watched with them. But anyway, I was considering watching that too. 13, What We Do in the Shadows. No arguments here. It's 10 out of 10 for me. Now here, how about this one? Number 14, Cure from 1997. That, Kiyoshi Kurosawa movie, which I like. I don't blow it the way other people do, but that's fine.
Did we watch that for the show? We did that for the show, right?
No.
Why?
I watched it for Summer Series when I had to watch it. That's the first time I saw it. I don't know.
Okay.
Number 17. What in the world is this?
Haven't seen it.
Manichirathazhu is the title of this movie. Let me try this. Manichirathazhu. I don't know.
Japanese?
No. It's got that weird writing that's like Middle Eastern.
Oh, Middle Eastern?
Directed by Fazil. F-A-Z. 169 minutes. Okay. I don't know.
That's a hard pass.
Right. Number 16, Diabolique, which I've heard about.
Yeah, that's good.
Les Diaboliques, 1955.
Yeah, that's actually, it's great. Again, fringe thriller, horror. I'd have to revisit again. I remember it being a standout, no question. But again, I even think it was remade, if I'm not mistaken. But again.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like
my
it
mind
was.
Goes all over the place. But
okay, number 17, Faust. You've heard of Faust, 1926.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know.
That one I have heard of, but I admittedly have not seen. So that will be another one I put on my list.
Okay. But do I really have to see this movie? Holy cow.
Actually.
Who has
that I don't know.
Right. Who has time to watch all of these now when I've already had my own list? Okay. Number 18, The Innocents. There you go. 1961. How about that?
Beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, so there you have it. I know you love it. Number 19, The Skeleton of Mrs. Morales. 1960.
Never even heard of it.
Never. Okay. I'm going to go a little deeper, and there's a reason for it. Number 20, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Okay.
Okay, well, this is where we're going to get interesting lists because that one would have never entered my radar as being horror.
Well, there you have it.
It's David Lynch. It's funky. It's his style, but wasn't it as much horror as Blue Velvet would be considered horror? And if you consider Blue Velvet horror, then I guess the sky's the limit. And again, I'm not shitting on everybody's description of horror because God forbid you do that nowadays. But ultimately, there's got to be some sort of realm or some sort of definition of what's horror, something, or we could just manage to squeeze everything and anything in, like it's an anal video you're watching, just wedge it in and call it horror.
Yeah, I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to discredit someone else that believes something is horror for their own reasons. It's fine, but I hear you. I thought What Do You Call It was horror. I saw it for the first time in Summer Series. It was either Mulholland Drive or Lost Highway. I forgot which one, but I saw it. And which one was it when they go to a party in the beginning and somebody breaks into somebody's house and they have to go back? Which one is that?
I think it's Lost. I'm confused now because
I've
seen both of them. Those are two of my favorites of his, but they all sort of have that David Lynch-ism that's his thumbprint on it and as well. Yeah. But I would venture to say I haven't seen Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me though. That those are more horror than that. One of them is the one where he commits a murder or something and then wakes up in jail as a young kid.
Oh, I can't remember.
The same character. And Mulholland Drive is the one with Naomi Watts. And
that was it.
Yeah. And what's his name is in it? The guy that shot and killed the guy in real life is in Lost Highway. And he's the creepiest part of it, where he plays kind of like I don't know if it's a version of death or whatever it may be, but he's like, I'm talking to you right now on the phone or whatever. Very creepy, very effective scene. So Lost Highway, I could probably say, yeah, no question. Because there's always dark elements to his movies. No question.
Right.
No question.
Right.
It's so. I mean, it could be arguable. If someone could argue it, then I'm fine with it too.
Yeah, it's not going to make my list, I don't think, even if I do. I don't know. Well, I don't want to be dismissive either, but I don't have all this time because I already know my favorites. I already have a good 90 movies that I'm like, okay, these have to be there. You know
what shocks the fucking shit out of me is you've listed the top 20 and Dawn of the Dead nor Night of the Living Dead were on that list.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep going until I get to Dawn of the Dead. How about that? Now listen, this will be fun. We haven't just enough time. Okay, listen.
Unless it's like how many fucking.
I know where it is. I'm not going to spoil it.
Jesus
no,
Christmas.
just hang in. 21 is The Lighthouse. Okay. All right, that's The Lighthouse. All right, okay, whatever. Okay. 21 or 22 is a movie called The Wolf House, La Casa Lobo, 2018. Never heard of it? It's 2018 horror that I've never heard of. See?
Yeah, weird.
Okay, number 23. Back to normality here. Evil Dead 2. Fine by me. I love Evil Dead 2. Fine. Number 24. The Phantom Carriage. There it is. There it is. Yeah, people love it. Number 25. Caligari. So there you go. Right. Okay. Popular movies. Number 26, or whatever number it is. Onibaba and the 40 Thieves. So 1964. Number 27.
That's a Japanese ghost movie, right? Or am I wrong?
Yep. Yeah, it is. 27, Scream. There you go. A regular movie. Fine.
Right. Over Nightmare on Elm Street, though. Interesting.
I know. It's ridiculous.
That's
Younger
fine.
kids, probably. Number 20, whatever this is, Phantom of the Paradise. We just discussed this. There's no way it's a top 100 movie. Oh, what did you rate it? And you
I told you, no, I didn't love Phantom of Paradise.
No, you
Phantom
loved
of Paradise.
Thing.
I love De Palma. Phantom of Paradise, I even said, I think it was a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good movie, but it's by no means his best. And again, the horror is very, I mean, yes, it's a take on the Phantom of the Opera, which itself has been made and remade into multiple horror films. But it's on the later side of that, it's more stylized in in a different realm. Out of all the De Palma horror movies you can put on, that's the one that makes it shocking to me.
Right, I know. Okay, 29, Hereditary. Okay.
All right, no argument.
30, 30, Houseu, whatever, which I still haven't seen. Maybe I should. 31, Let the Right One In. By all means, that's fine by me. Love that movie. Okay. 32, Kuroneko, 1968. Don't know. See, these look very artsy and cool looking, which is fine. Yeah. Now listen to this stuff. 33, Godzilla. Okay, I don't really think it's
holy fuck. I'm not gonna. I don't mean to offend anybody. There will not be one Godzilla movie or King Kong. I love King Kong. No. Godzilla. There will not be one of those movies on my list.
Right.
At all.
That's I get you. Makes sense. 34, The Exorcist.
Spookies.
The Exorcist finally makes it at 34.
Rears his head at 34.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Below freaking Phantom of the Paradise. Okay. Number 35, The Testament of Dr. Mabuse from 1933, directed by Fritz Lang. You probably know of this movie.
Yeah, Fritz Lang. One of the other movies that I liked of his or love is M. And M is, well, he also did, I think he did Metropolis as well. But M was Metropolis and M. I didn't watch this one, funny enough.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you will. Who knows? Number 36, Jaws. Finally Jaws, which I might go see today. It's playing 3D near here, and I think that would be great.
Oh, nice.
Go. Yeah, dude. I'm going to see if I can talk her into it. But yeah, Jaws. Okay, 37, One Cut of the Dead. Okay, whatever.
Over?
I know.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Right? I know. We're getting there. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Number 38, Shaun of the Dead. Okay.
I love that. I love it. But
love it too.
You don't have Shaun of the Dead without.
Right. Get out of here. Right. I know. Number 39, The Bride of Frankenstein. Probably the most heralded of all the Universal classics.
It is usually received the best, and usually is the one that everybody rates the highest for the most part over all the other Universal movies.
And it's on my short list of being on the cusp right now. There's like 6 or 7 more. I plan on watching that and Wolfman again to see if they're going to make my 100. But I want to watch. I want to give them another day in court, you know.
Go now, and heaven help you.
Nice.
I love the Wolfman is great.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay, 40. Nope. Jordan Peele. Nope. 40.
Oh, right.
That's the new movie effect. That'll drop in time. It's not going to be there 10 years from now. I promise you. And I enjoyed it, but come on. Okay. Number 41, Night of the Living Dead. Okay. At last. Okay. Number 42, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Whatever. Is it really a horror? People want to consider it that. Whatever. It's horror adjacent, Lloyd. Okay. Number 43, I Saw the Devil. I mean, we love that movie.
Love it. Love it.
Right. Okay. Number 44.
But I'm so upset what I'm not hearing right now.
Well, you can end that. Number 44, Dawn of the Dead.
There she blows.
There you go. All right, there she is. I'm going to go to 50 for fun. Okay, hold on now.
Thank
45, you. Santa Sangre, which I hear a lot of people talk about and everything else. I don't know.
I mean, he's crazy. I've watched a handful of his movies, and it's difficult to categorize them. It's got elements from different genres sort of mashed in, but
who is it? Ken Russell?
No. It's Jaskowski or something like that. I always fuck up his name. He did Holy Mountain.
The original Vanilla Sky, maybe?
No. I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
Open Your Eyes, or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah. To be honest, I never really. In his career, it happened to be that one got a lot of press in Fangoria at the time, Fangoria or Gore Zone. So that's how we got introduced to that film, which then made me go back and go revisit a couple of his older films.
Okay. That's cool. No, I should. It's in my book too that I had a long time ago. 101 best movies you never heard of, or from Fangoria. That's the first time I heard about it. But do you think it's worthy of a list?
Again, I can't remember it enough.
Okay, that's fine.
I might have to go back and watch it now just refresh, because I do remember really enjoying it. But again, it's not something. Put it this way, it was 1 or 2 and done. I haven't seen it. Every time someone mentions it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember liking that movie, but I haven't seen it since my 20s.
Okay. All right, that's cool. All right, 46 at last.
Which is a long time ago, everybody.
Indeed, a little bit. Finally, Suspiria at 46. Okay.
Holy shit.
I'm okay with it.
Finally, an Argento makes the list.
I know. And right after this, I don't even know what this is, 47, Sleep Has Her House. It's a 2017 movie. How have we not seen it? I mean, come on. If it was so great, we would have known about it. No, but I don't know. I'm not here to judge. 48, Peeping Tom. Everybody loves Peeping Tom. Okay. 49, The Fly. All right, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with that. The Fly.
The original or Cronenberg?
No. Cronenberg.
Okay.
Okay, and number 50, I'll stop it here. Train to Busan. There you go.
Again, that movie's got a lot of heart. It's fast-paced. It's gory. It's good. I mean, I love it. But The Wailing, because it came out the same year. That's the reason I'm comparing them to. The Wailing.
54.
The Wailing. Okay. I mean,
54.
If you want a movie with meat on its bones that I don't even understand all of it from, that's a movie that you could rewatch and sort of pull something new from, I think, each time. It's just a really long film, crazily long film. So, you've got to be a lover of longer cinema, which is weird because we always joke and say, as a criticism, I wish 10 minutes were cut out, or I wish 15 minutes were cut out. Very rarely do we go the other way and say, I wish there was 20 more minutes. We've done it. Right. We've said it before, but it's not a usual critique. And again, whether we could be raked over the coals for using it as a critique. But hey, if I don't have patience and you're listening to the show, you know that about me. And so it's got to somehow hold my interest for me to not make that part of my criticism.
And that's it, right? Reality. And just a couple notable things, because I see them in plain sight right here. Halloween is 57. Texas Chainsaw is 58. Deep Red is 60.
This list should be fucking burned. Like those, like, let's be honest. I know what it is. This is what we're talking about. It's taking everybody's ratings and bundling them all together to create that list. But ultimately, it's funny. I've seen all those movies, but on Letterboxd, I haven't necessarily rated all those movies because I may have not watched them, or if I've watched them, they're not. I may have not rated them per se, so they might have been watched but not rated. So,
well,
it's all relative,
it gets better. It gets better. Like the next 30, you'll have things like Wicker Man 65. You'll have Body Snatcher 60, 62, Dead Alive 66, The Witches 70. You say there are there. Black Christmas 74, Carrie 75, Videodrome 77. So they are there. Return of the Living Dead 82, Midsommar 86. So they are there, but they're just not top 20, top 30. Maybe because they're going by average rating, and if only 200 people rate a movie, like it's some obscure artsy film, and they all rate it a 5, you know what I mean? It's gonna be high up there. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that affects it as well. Obviously, it affects it. So it's like American Werewolf 84. There you go. So they're there, but it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, but the ones that really stand the test of time, that have been around since the 70s, and thousands of people have seen it. Like, how many people have seen Videodrome? You know what I mean? You just look at a thing and see, compared to these other ones. But again, these are film lovers, but I have a feeling that they're more about artsy films. I don't know if they're assholes.
Videodrome should have been on there. Videodrome, that I argue that the Videodrome or any one of Cronenberg's movies, other than The Fly. The Fly is great. His most mainstream fucking film. Dead Zone, Videodrome, The Brood, for some, Dead Ringers, on the caliber with The Fly, if not better. But The Fly is his most mainstream, and is goriest and gooeyest in to some degree. So I guess that's why
it is my favorite.
Yeah, I know.
It's my favorite.
I remember you've always said that, and that's fine.
Yeah. Videodrome is not going to make my list, and I enjoy it. I don't know what I rated it on the show, but I don't want to say get confused. I'm just not balls deep into the plot. I just think that it gets slow sometimes, and some other things. That's just me, though. I know you.
And that's why we have personal favorites, and that's exactly it. Like, I mean, otherwise they would be a boring show if we always agreed with one another with every aspect of what we're trying to say.
So objectivity is overrated, and that's why when people talk about, and then they'll separate best from favorite and everything else, and they want to be objective. Nobody gives a shit. If we just had objective things, you could just pick up fucking Entertainment Weekly magazine and say these are the top 100 movies.
Well, no differently than the list you just read off.
Or that.
There's some heavy hitters that we all will agree. I think most horror fans that are listening to this show would say, of course, those all deserve to be there. But some of those rankings are mind-boggling. Yeah. Some of the fact that there's movies I had never even heard of, I'm not going to say it's I mean, obviously, I don't know every movie ever made, but you'd figure, being a horror fans, we would have heard, especially some of these newer ones, because in the community, whether it be just our close community or the broader scheme, I don't remember any of these movies being mentioned. The ones that you had mentioned were from 2018 or 17 or whatever. I'm like, that's odd, weird that they. But and again, it's a collective of high ratings from, I guess, a core group of people. How many people? I don't know, but the algorithm worked that it made it in the top 100 list or whatever that was that you're cycling off there. But ultimately, I can safely say that a lot of those are not going to be on my list.
Well, right. Me neither. And I'm not going to have time to watch them to find out. But it's just like, there's certain voices are the loudest. When people have something to prove or they have a chip on their shoulder or anything, they are the loudest. And apparently artsy movies are the loudest on Letterboxd because people have a chip on their shoulder, I think, and say, "Hey, I'm a real film fan. All you're talking about is mainstream this and mainstream that. What about foreign films and subtitles?
I'll give everything a try."
Cool?
But that's the thing. We will all give everything a try. It's just, how does it resonate? For instance, A24 3-4 years ago, people were already making fun of A24 in our circle of it being artsy fartsy and you only like it because of whatever. They are consistent with the movies that they release for me. I'm not saying I love every one of them, but it's consistency there. And in fact, I recommended a movie recently because again, some of my friends, they're not really into they don't follow horror as deeply as I do. So I say, here's some of my favorites for the year. Have you checked out this? And he said, no. He goes, oh, it's A24, so I'm definitely going to check it out. Even he put A24 sort of on a pedestal of realizing that there must be something more to this movie. And he was willing to check it out. Not that he wouldn't have checked it out if it wasn't, but the fact that he pointed that out is interesting. So be it. And should that be a bad thing? No. Does everybody agree out there? No, of course not. But there has been some consistency with the films A24 has released and my enjoyment of them. So.
Yeah, man, I'm with you.
I also saw that there's another Midsummer 4K coming out. If it's not already out, and it's not the one I've got, it's the one. It's like, I guess, just a regular mainstream one, released 4K, but with the Blu-ray and the features that were on the Blu-ray disc as well.
Director's cut?
Yeah, I believe so.
Is yours director's cut 4K?
Yes.
Okay, I have to have that. Director's cut 4K Midsommar. That's a must-have. I'll get to it. Right now, the ones I am gonna buy are gonna be from 1980. Because they're doing the 80s with 22 shots. And if I'm going to watch some of these movies, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to buy The Alligator. There's certain ones I'm going to buy because they're out now. And I've already bought Maniac and stuff like that. So, but that's a whole other story. So I got 2022, I got 1980, and I got this stuff for this. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. But it's fun. And I just make enough time to do it. So it's all right. But we should probably move on to this 1984s. 1984. So 1984. Oh yeah. You know what that is when I do that part there?
Is that the only thing I can think of is Van Halen?
Yay! It is. God, I love that fucking album.
Yeah, that was a favorite growing up. It's a staple of the 80s, man. That album. Amazing. And funny enough, so is 5150. Even if you're not a Sammy Hagar fan, for whatever reason, I can listen to both those albums and love both the albums, but 1984, just with that opening, Jump, and Panama. It's like, boom, bam, bang.
That entire album. Dude, 1984 is an album.
Jimmy, drop dead legs.
Dude, drop dead legs.
I'll wait till the... Yeah.
Oh, incredible. Dude, that solo... in fucking Drop Dead Legs, the last fucking half of that song when it kicks in, ding 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 ding, and then it goes into that ripping. Drop Dead Legs is the most overlooked song in the fucking history of the Van Halen catalog. And I'm telling you, that album, dude, Fish used to do on Halloween. They used to do a Halloween costume. They still do a different thing now. But hold on, let me finish. Fish used to do this thing. I know you're going to say some, but they used to do a thing where they covered another band's album start to finish, right? So this year when I was going up to the show, I really, really wanted them to cover Van Halen 1984 because Eddie had just passed not too long ago. He's the first of the guitar guys. Trey's a guitar guy. And I'm thinking, how cool is this? Because after Bowie died, they did something. What else did they did something once in recent memory after somebody passed. So I was like, maybe they'll do fucking this for Eddie. Maybe they'll do 1984. They did something else with entirely new music that they wrote themselves, which was great. But that's how much I love that album. But anyway, the other thing that it
is a great album.
At the beginning, there was a song that people used to break dance to, maybe a hip hop thing type. And I cannot to this day find out what it is. But I went to breakdance classes when I was a kid in 1984. And there was this song.
What?
Yes. There were breakdance classes offered, and I went to them to learn how to breakdance.
Is it just a guy in the street?
That's white boy shit there, right?
With a ghetto blaster. There he goes. Okay, kid, give me your fucking money. I'll teach you how to dance.
It was right in a place like going to a dance studio. You know what I mean? It was right in a fucking building, and you go and there's a room, and it's a dance fucking studio floor, and people were breaking.
Could you do the worm or the moonwalk or anything? Did you retain anything?
I wasn't very good because, as usual, I can't pay attention like
Yeah.
any other fucking type of teaching. So yeah. But there was this song that he played, and I'll never forget it because it was so cool. Because robots were all the rage in the early '80s, especially. And and in the beginning of the song, the music started playing, and then all of a sudden you heard a robotic voice say 1984. And I've been looking for that song since I got an iTunes and a Spotify. I cannot fucking track this song down.
Well,
If somebody out there, please.
Chris A.K. Scott is a huge hip hop fan. I think. Well, he
So
liked
am I.
because he. Well, yeah. So maybe he'll. I mean, he likes a lot of different music, but he's the one that was like Run DMC and that Groove Crush or Crush Groove, or whatever
the
movie.
soundtrack?
Yeah,
Okay.
or whatever. Well, no, he pushed me onto that movie. I admittedly I don't remember that film, and I watched it, and it was bad but fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As well. So maybe he or one of our listeners will be able to tell you what that is.
I hope. It was
And if
really
you
like a
can't-
dance song.
You failed us. You failed us all.
Yeah. I mean, it was really a dance song. It was like something that people would break to. So it was just it was probably mostly beats. You know, it was like fucking beats going on and shit.
1984. Come on,
Yeah.
there's got to be something that. Anyway, before I forget, that Midsummer new blue 4K, it looks like it's not the director's cut. It looks like it's just a 4K version of theatrical cut.
Well, sorry,
Just so
but
you
I'm
know.
gonna have to go to the horse like you did. Go right to fucking the website. It's A24. I won't get it. It seems like people are napping on it, and good. I'm gonna get it when the time is right. So yeah, I gotta get that. Gotta get the which one that's out now. But anyway,
Well, let's get
1980
into our first movie. What
Yes.
can we?
yeah, I think
I'll
we can.
pick since
Yeah.
I picked because I brought it up.
Pick away.
We're going to start with 1984's Children of the Corn.
All right. The cool
A
one.
young couple is trapped in a remote town where a dangerous religious cult of children believes that everyone over the age 18 must be killed. And I will say this.
19.
Well, it says 18 here.
Well, how come in the movie the kid does
Over
it's his
the age,
19th
I know.
birthday? Oh,
Yeah.
well,
then they made a mistake here. But
could
I
be
will
wrong.
say this. Best thing about this movie is the poster.
It's a great poster. But
Best thing. I am not a fan of this film. Never have
Okay.
been. Never was when I was a kid.
Mhm.
And I thought maybe this would be the view that changed me. It wasn't. I do
same
not
thing
hate
happened.
the movie. Yeah, I do not hate it. But has this gotten a cult following? I know people have loved it. I've always questioned, because I never have. I always thought it was a little weird. I love the premise. The premise is great. I still don't understand how they can live like this without anybody coming through, even if this guy that's pumping gas down the street is sort of guarding them or protecting them or whatever they say, and they hunt them down. It just seems slow. It seems a little odd. It seems weird based on the time frame that I think is happening. And the effects at the end are some of the worst optical effects this side of Hellraiser.
Oh, wow. Well,
I love Hellraiser, but
I know.
those effects at the end of this movie are fucking horrendous.
just a part of
In
the fire, I think. The cartoon
84
fire.
or the
I love
yellow.
that. I
Oh
love
my
how it
God.
is, actually, because to me, if
Ugh.
you saw that in real life, how fucking scary would that be? See, to me, that actually works on that level. I'm like, that's like a real life. I want things to look that way. It's otherworldly. Why not look that fucking bizarre? That doesn't bother me. The only thing that does bother me is the fucking the cartoon fire that they decided to throw at the end with that animation that looks like the opening of fucking Night of the Demons for some reason. That's the only knock on the effects for me. But I understand where you're coming from. But I have come around to that thing that comes up on Isaac and takes over. I think it's cool now. I don't know. Maybe it's just the colors of it. I don't know.
Isaac and Malachi creeped me out when I was a kid. To a degree. They don't anymore. The dialogue and acting is horrendous. Sorry, it is. I know they're kids, but it is. It's hard to take. The couple's great. Linda Hamilton and Dude are fine, and you feel for them.
Mhm.
But again, the story, everything that I think works is the fact that it's a Stephen King story. And I don't even think I'm saying that just because I know it's Stephen King. I like that premise. I like this cult of kids and everything else, but everything, the massacre in the diner at the beginning, although not super gory,
It's
is
great.
creepy. It,
Yeah.
it is a creepy opening, but then it just falls off for me. There's a lot of wandering around and driving around and this, that, and the other thing, and it feels like it's been padded. But I'm not saying that there isn't effective moments in the movie. There are. The scene there, some of the chase sequences are good. When that one kid tries to escape or try to go get help, and he's killed, and that's this bloody
Yeah.
suitcase that fuzz.
Yep.
There are effective moments,
Yeah.
but
Yes, there are.
I can't say that it's enjoyable. It's not. I didn't dislike it to the extent of the craft, or I just couldn't grasp onto anything for whatever reason. Here I can at least grasp onto the premise. It's simple enough. It's not a long movie. So, I mean, for the most part, that part was all easy to swallow. Linda Hamilton looks like a teenager.
Boy, I know. So pretty. Wow. Yeah. I don't know how old she was, but man, yeah. She was very pretty, though. I'll say that. You know, I did not want the two movies to win that one. I will tell you that. Matter of fact, I'm going to look at the poll, but this has been
I wanted Chud because I wanted to see Chud again, to be honest.
I wanted Fatal Games for sure, and it ended up with 10 votes because it's a slasher, and I just enjoy it. So I kind of wanted Fatal Games, and I don't know what another one would have been. Maybe Splatter Universe. I just wanted to do some slashers. I did not want to watch Gremlins again and Children of the Corn again, but it's okay, no complaints. That's just what I was, hoping was going to happen. Even Monster Dog may have been fun. I don't know. But this movie, I'll say this. I've always been it's very top heavy to me. I really enjoy the first half, and something always happens to me in the second half where I fall a little out of it. Actually, I fall out of the couple. No, just the couple. Anything with the kids in the second half, this is where I differ from you. I don't have a problem with the acting. I don't notice anything, and I happen to love Isaac and Malachi, particularly Isaac. I just like the things that come out of his mouth. I like his delivery. I like the story of them being there and how they've been misled by this thing. And again, watching it this time, I can say that I don't know if I've come up a little, but I can say that I appreciate what King was doing a little more here, because this now it may have been padded because it's only based on a short story, okay, which was I believe a Night Shift. Now, as I'm watching it, I enjoy the fact that
Silver Bullet, but I love that one.
True, that too. Yeah, you're right. No. I like what he's saying about religion, like he always does, and the dangers of it and everything else. I dig that whole thing, but I also dig that ultimately, and I love when they do this, it's either religion or the supernatural is real. Something obvious. There really is something, the man who walks behind the road is a thing. Is it a false god? Of course. Is it Satan himself manipulating?
But is it a false god? It's the only god they know. That's the funniest part of it. It actually contradicts itself. I think it would have been better if they left the supernatural out of it and they just focused on these kids, like almost like it was a brainwashing thing or
I'm
something.
Tired of that.
Well, this would have been 84 though, so that would have been new. The fact that it actually is supernatural at the end, I think, takes away from it. And then I'm like wondering, why are they not falling? And why are they all scared? They're actually physically seeing this. They're not seeing God. They're not seeing good. They're seeing this. That would be what most people would believe in because it's physically right there in front of you. Now, I guess the argument could be made that you're saying, if that exists, then the good also exists, right? As in anything. If the devil exists or evil exists, good exists. So there's that argument too. But they're physically seeing this, so I think they'd buy it and be all in. Instead, they all run in fear at the end.
Well, because it attacks one of their own. That's why. Because it goes after Isaac, and then it also, keep this in mind. The guy, I forget the character's name, but he makes some good points to them. He goes, "Tell me, what kind of God would have you kill your parents?" And I think things start to sink in, and that's why they don't attack. And first of all, they're easily led because they're children, and they're raised in a religious community, which already might be a little bit odd. I think they kind of play on that with all the evangelistic stuff on the radio and everything else. Yeah. So I think they're raised in this way where they're kind of religion is taking a stranglehold of their community. That's all they know, and they live kind of off the beat. Not kind of. They live off the beaten path in this area. So I think that's what makes sense about this. He's making a statement about religion as a whole and what's happening here and how everybody only has this narrow-minded way to think because that's all they know. So now they know for a fact that somebody who identifies himself as the Lord God came and revealed himself to almost all of them, except the kids that were in the diner at the Joby and his sister, right? Except for them too. They were all there. They literally saw something that identified itself as the Lord and Savior come up and say, hey, this is what you do. Isaac's going to preach through me. You know what I mean? This is what you do. Get rid of the parents. This is God's will, and I can point it out in the Bible why, and now you listen to me. So for them, being young and have a religious state of mind to be manipulated like that isn't a far stretch. So they see this. So to them, that works. That's what I love about it now.
I got a religious state of mind.
But that's great. It's like my theory on what's that movie? Saint Maud. How I believe that it's actually a demon, that it is all supernatural, manifesting itself to Maud as God. And getting joy out of freaking manipulating her and making all these things happen. I dig that a demon comes in and pretends to be God and is able to do that. So that's what I see happening here, and that's what I love about it. That it does go to
that is cool. That's cool. Again,
get off on that.
I'm torn because when the supernatural hit, I was like, again. Because I don't have a nostalgia to this. I don't have a strong recollection. I remember watching this way back when. This may be my third time. It actually might even be my second time seeing it. I just don't remember I just never really dug it. I think I watched the first 4 Children of the Corn.
Wow.
Once.
I've only seen
and this is twice for me. But I mean, I just remember thinking, wow, this poster is super fucking cool. Mm-hmm. And that diner massacre is a cool setup. You got someone narrating again, like that seems like
I don't get that.
Because it kind of, again, well, it's no different than the short story in Silver Bullet too, with the narration. Like it kind of comes and goes. It is kind of a weird. They didn't need it. They really didn't need it in this one. It
should have been him, Job, telling the story, because it starts off with Job telling the story. So how come at the end they don't wrap it up with him telling the story to someone and him taking you on this trip? It's unnecessary. I don't get that. Why not have it come out in dialogue later? What he should have done is when the people arrived, the couple, he could have just told it to them on the screen and said, hey, this happened this day. We were in the diner, and then all of a sudden they came in. These kids were acting weird, and they killed our people. And here we are. They killed the adults. Why did they set it up like it was somebody telling a story to someone only to abandon it freaking after that part? It's stupid. It's bad filmmaking there. I don't get that decision at all. I agree. It doesn't make a lick of sense. In Silver Bullet, I think I can't remember.
It was just that they abandoned it for a bit, so that when it comes back in, you're a little like taken aback. But then you're like, oh yeah, she's narrating this. I forgot. But it was weird. And again, I don't know, without having read the Stephen King story, I'm not sure if that was a carryover from the story itself or not.
You would think, right?
But I know, again, premise wise, I think this has got something.
Mm-hmm.
Dare I say a remake? They made so many fucking sequels to this that unfortunately maybe it's been marred in sequel hell. Almost like The Exorcist, or not the Shark movies, or Amityville movies is what I mean, is where I was going with it. Excuse me. That I wonder if it could ever come back with a serious new take.
They've tried it. They've done that twice now, I think. There's been a TV show, and there's been another one. Same story. Miniseries, I'm saying. I think there was a miniseries, like a Salem's Lot, how they did that, and they did another thing. I'm pretty sure that Children of the Corn, they have done this story again. Now, I could be wrong, and I don't want to go through the entire franchise to find out. And I can't remember when 22 Shots did it, what was said. But I'm pretty sure that something like that, this story has been done again. But again, not the way we want to see now in 2022, where it comes to the big screen or whatever. Even if it's not the big screen, even if it's a Paramount original or so be it. Like Firestarter, but a better movie, of course. You know what I mean? That would be fine. I'd like to see that, but I feel like they've had a couple more at-bats with it. But I don't know. But here's what, again, I like the couple. They seem like a real couple. In the beginning, she's a great girl. She happy birthday, and she sings that song, my kind of girl. That's awesome. And then they have little arguments, and you could tell that there's something beneath the surface there. And and she wants to have sex with him that morning, and some other stuff, and he's just thinking about the job, and she wants a commitment from him, and he's not giving it. But they argue just a little bit, but enough that it's dissolved quickly. They squash it. So you see this. To me, I love when we see that stuff, when we see what I think to be real people. Not a villain, not a complete freaking good guy, but real people that are always somewhere in the middle. And that's what I like about this couple. And then by the end of the movie, they come together, they show each other's love, they come to each other's rescue, and then they have that thing at the end, the very end, with the and they take the kids with them. But see, I dig the characters.
Yeah, they steal the kids like you stole Lucky's cat. Like, what the fuck? Like, hey, you want to come with us? Sure. What else are we gonna do?
Yeah, what else are they going to do? Right. And then they got that girl with that jump scare at the end, and they're just like, well, send her a postcard, she said. So that's great. They knock her out. Let me tell you this. Did you know, you probably don't know this, but the couple things I want to tell you about this movie. Okay. Two things. The scene where Isaac returns to take his revenge on Malachi was different in the script. Here's the thing. The budget really effed this movie up because it came up time and time again that they had this idea, but the budget wouldn't allow them to. And I think maybe that affected the film. You know what I mean? The final product. Right. The final product for sure. So it was different than the script. Isaac was supposed to be far worse in appearance, with much of his skeleton showing. Malachi would successfully but futilely stab his former leader in the chest, and Isaac dragged him screaming into the cornfield, where he who walks behind the rows will consume them both. They were forced to abandon Isaac's ghastly appearance due to budget problems, and according to Courtney Gaines, the producer forced the director to simplify the scene by having Isaac simply snap Malachi's neck so they could stay ahead of the shooting schedule. Gaines feels that that's one of the few regrets about this film, and that his character's original climactic death was scrapped for something more simple. Now, that's one thing. Well,
but Isaac comes back in some of the worst makeup you've seen. It is laughable. Wow. I mean, guys, I don't care if you love this movie or not. When he pops back up with that makeup, I thought it was horrible. It looked like bad latex with like, that gray bluey like makeup rolled in. It was so bad. I did laugh out loud. I LOL'd myself.
He did. He loud. Wow. Well, I didn't notice.
Sorry.
I'm always too busy on the voice because I love it. Malachi, he wants to see you, or whatever he says. I always love it. I never noticed the makeup being bad. To me, it's just makeup. But hey,
pretty creepy. Okay. That's creepy, the voice, for sure.
I dig it, man. Definitely. Okay, now here's another one. According to screenwriter, and this has to do with a couple, that's why I thought about it. According to screenwriter George Goldsmith, the studio executives brought him on to write the film after deciding the original script by King was unusable, as the entire first act was nothing but Bert and Vicky arguing in the car. King's draft reportedly contained more backstory for Isaac and the cult, and kept the story's original depressing ending, where Vicky is killed by the children and Bert is killed by he who walks behind the rows, who punishes the children for their failure to kill Bert by lowering the age of sacrifice from 19 to 18. Goldsmith felt that King didn't understand the difference between writing a novel and writing a film. So in the original, they all fucking die. What an ending. They put her up on a thing, crucified like the other ones, and her eyeballs are cut out and shit.
No, that's Hollywood saying you need a happy ending.
I know.
King knew exactly what to do. It's just that Hollywood couldn't accept a non-happy ending, especially it was very difficult to get that sort of passed back then. I mean, it's probably it's probably easier now, but a lot has happened since then. Back then, it was almost unheard of.
The ending seems weird, doesn't it? Like all of a sudden they go, this happens, and then all of a sudden it says the end, and the credits start to roll, and they're with the kids and the music. But I'm like, you can see that as being Hollywood. I know it always seemed a little bit, like what? It jumps out of nowhere, the end, and like here they are. I'm like, okay, so they just took us for that ride, gave us a jump scare at the end, and there you go. And that's unfortunate. There's things I like and there's things I don't like about the movie. I don't think I'm going to be as low as you. I've never been over the moon about it. It's never been like a movie that I would think. It's one of Stephen King's lesser adaptations. I will say that. It's lesser, but I don't dislike it. But it's not like revered to me, you know.
I'm trying to remodel because I feel like sometimes we do talk like I don't use like it's not a failure. There's enough here to watch and enjoy, even if it's in the background and whatever. But by no means do I ever have to watch it again. It's a movie to recommend more for completists, in my opinion. To answer your question or to answer just a quick IMDb search, I guess there was a TV movie done as a remake in 2009. And then I didn't know this, but in 2020, they did. Well, maybe I did know this. Maybe I remembered this, but I never saw it. There was a Children of the Corn remake in 2020.
Told you. I think one of them is called Genesis, or I could be completely wrong.
No, the one was called the Children of the Corn 2009, which was a TV movie. It's called Children of the Corn. Both of them are just called Children of the Corn.
Okay, so I thought so. 2 bats, I said. 2 more. I knew it. I knew that there more came out.
In 2020, it was, not a horrible rating of 4.3 on the IMDb, but that's IMDb.
Yeah,
so that's not
lower than. Yeah, but still, it's not going to be as good as this. You know what I'm saying? Neither are. That's the problem. So even you had a good idea, but something about this, it can't be adapted right. I don't know. It's too bad.
I mean, for me, I would say that I'll say it's a 5.5 out of 10. And the reason for that is now I'm trying to use 5. It's just sort of blah. It's average. I don't, whatever. I'd say that there's enough here. 5.5 out of 10 is what I'd give this.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna talk about a few things quick.
Yeah, I always do that to you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I have a story too, a funny story that you'll enjoy more than the movie. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a cool thing with a nice shot in the beginning with the blood dripping on the suitcase, and that kill I think is nice. It's well done. I guess she says not in my book. You know that part he pulls the thing out and he says Jesus Christ, and she says not in my book, because not in my book used to be a big phrase for my friends in the 80s. My one friend Scott used to always say it, not in my book. So anyway, I might start bringing it back. Not in my book. We used to always say it.
Yeah. That's not the story that I'm going to like more than the movie, is it?
No. This is the story. No,
it's
not that at all. No, I know better. No. How about this? When he asks about the kids.
Why do I like my own jokes?
When he asks about the parents, he says that Isaac put them out in the cornfield. Now, with all the parents. That makes me think, I wonder if King got that idea from the Twilight Zone episode, the original Twilight Zone, because that's where the kid, you know what I'm talking about? The episode which was actually ended up being in the movie?
You're talking to the wrong member. You need Brandon here or you need Ram Man here, because I don't know much of the Twilight Zone stuff. A handful of them. That's it.
Okay. Well, I know them quite well, and I want to see the story. It was the one. Okay, this was done in the movie. It's a Good Life. Okay, in the movie they came out and they didn't have the cornfield in the movie. They had him do all this other shit, and cartoon characters came out and he tortured his family and all that. You know which one I'm talking about in that episode, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, in the original one, when the kid wanted people to disappear, he closed his eyes, he did this thing, and boom, poof, they were gone. But they always ended up out in the cornfield, and that's what they said. So I have a feeling that King probably did that for that reason. And if it was written by Matheson, more than likely, and I don't know if it was. No, based on It's a Good Life by Jerome Bixby. Oh, okay, a story. Either way, I venture a guess that he would have done that on purpose, that he put them out in the cornfield, because that's kind of cool. I like when he said, we want to give you peace. It's very religious. That's what I'm saying. And he makes that statement when they're in the church at that one point, when they were talking about the ritual and the kid turning 19. And he says something like, and this applies, in my opinion, this is what I like about this, the statement's made. This applies nowadays to religion and politics. He says, are you rewriting that whole thing or just a part that suits your needs? He says.
That a great line. Very forced in the movie. Very forced in the movie. And here's the problem. I get it. I like the premise and I like the themes. But then that's the script. That's the story. That's the story that Stephen King wrote, but the actual execution of said thing. That's why I say I can't base a movie totally on what it's trying to say, as opposed to actually the execution of said movie. So if the movie itself was more enjoyable, then everything sort of aligns. But when the themes and the idea are great, but yet I don't like the execution, or totally like the execution, let me rephrase that, then I can only go so high. But I agree, like there's some really cool things here being said, but that's, I guarantee, in the King's short story.
Sure, certainly. Definitely. I would venture that he definitely put those words in his story. You know what I mean? Because he's always taking swings at religion, which is fine. Organized religion and what they do and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I love that, and it's also you can, like I said, you can wedge it in with politics too. You know, you were writing it or just the parts that suit your needs. I love that, and it holds true now more than ever. So I think that's cool. I like the score. I think it's a good score. You know what I mean? Now I want to know: do you think the idea for the graboids in Tremors came from this movie because of the thing in the ground like that moving around? That's what I was thinking about.
Interesting. I mean, that was successfully done considering the budget limitations.
Yeah,
so many things. That part was good. Even though I wasn't a big fan of the supernatural, like I kind of was like, oh, that's good, but because I didn't want that. I totally forgot about the ending. I totally forgot that Isaiah gets encompassed by this essentially yellow crayon cartoony shit and got turned into a monster. I forgot the whole ending.
Gotcha.
So I again was half laughing, but yeah, you could be right because it's very Tremors.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that they did that. You know what I mean? So there's some things to take away here. Now, ultimately,
I mean, that's like saying that happened in the thing though too, right? At the end where it's not the exact thing because that's very Tremors.
That's true.
It sort of happens in the thing where it goes through at the very end.
That's a good call.
Before the fuck you too.
Right. Yeah, good call. You're right. I never thought about that because it's in the snow or so. I don't know why I didn't make that connection, but this seems more Tremors-like, I guess. So I guess, it's the location and everything. So yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you my rating and then tell you a story. Ultimately, for me, I've always kind of been in this area, or I do like it, but it's a 7 for me. So
okay.
I dig it. How low?
And I'll revamp mine to a 6.
Oh,
I think it's,
wow, okay.
Yeah. Because again, top heavy is a good way to describe it. I think
it is right.
There are some there are some effective sequences in it overall, but it just falls off for me. That it becomes a little bit more laughable near the end, and I can't let that go, I guess.
No, I get it, man. I get it. It's. But the beginning stuff is great. Them being lost and being pushed in the other direction, everything else. They meet the guy and they're trying to, and everything that's happening in the relationship and everything, what the hell's happening. Then they get there. I do really enjoy that. And I think it plays out just right. But sometimes after they get, one more thing. How about this? This movie was ahead of the game on the record scratch thing, which became such a big thing later on. I think this movie started when they're listening to that music and having a good time. And then Malachi comes in that room and throws the freaking knife down, and then when the knife hits the thing, the record scratches, and then they stop and they look, and there he is. Perfect.
Yeah. I never even thought of that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It started here, I think, and it just happened to be a record there, and because the knife landed there, it caused that to happen, but it was a record scratch moment. It was kind of cool, man. So I got to give it props. I got to give props when they said, one more thing. What the guy says about the freaking dude at the that runs the mechanic, he says he's been out in the sun too long.
Yes. Yeah, that was awesome. Wait, I also have a question for you. Who put the poison in the coffee in the cafe?
Oh, that
I forgot now.
One of the older girls.
So she's younger. Okay.
Yeah, no, she looks a little older. She's like a teen. I mean, she's probably a 20-year-old, supposedly playing a 17-year-old. But yeah, I know.
Isaac was 25, I think, when he was Isaac.
Yeah, but he had a disease or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought that too. At first, I'm like, wait a minute, why would an adult? But it's a kid. She just looks a little older. She looked pregnant too, I think, when she walked out. I could be wrong. There, but Anyway, I've wanted to tell this story for years, and I've never covered this movie, and I never had a chance to do it. Now, it does have to do with fish, okay? However,
Uh-oh.
you are
Sorry,
going to
everybody.
appreciate it. Well, listen. So this is
You got
Trey.
2 fish stories in a row.
Sorry, Bob, but you guys will appreciate this one. I promise you. Okay, so Trey, Anastasio, the lead singer and guitarist. Okay, he lost one of his best friends in 2019. They even came out with an album. Well, he did. 3 of the members of Fish, called Ghosts of the Forest, and it's basically everything about his relationship with him and everything. It's a real deep album, lyrically and everything else. And so this is someone he was real close with. So anyway, his name was Chris, the gentleman that passed away. But I read the Fish book years ago, and one of the things was Trey told this story. Now, okay, one of his oldest and closest friends, Chris Cottrell. Okay, the 2 of them attended Taft boarding school together and heavily influenced each other's musical taste. Cottrell died of adrenal cancer last night. This is an article that came out after, leading Anastasio to pen a lengthy tribute to his lifelong friend. So anyway, okay, let me get to this actual, because he has all this other stuff too that talks about, his relationship and his friend. So, but I want to get to this. Okay, hold on. Just give me a moment. But this is funny. Okay, here you go. So, sometime in the mid-'90s, Mike is the bassist, Mike Gordon for the band. Okay, sometime in the mid-'90s, Mike was driving up the highway when he picked up the actor Courtney Gaines hitchhiking. Courtney was well known for playing the character of Malachi in Children of the Corn. With his wild red hair, he was the one who hacked everybody up. Mike started to contemplate a crazy gag, and at band practice, and the gag came into let me say this again. Mike started to contemplate a crazy gag, and at band practice, and the gag came into focus. Okay, there was too many ands. That's why I read it. I didn't read it wrong. It was written wrong. Okay, so the next time we played in Vegas, we rented a giant suite with a balcony and a piano, and we invited tons of friends to a huge party in the room. Mike even hired 2 opera singers. The gag was this. Courtney and I bought the exact same clothes because with my long red hair at the time, Courtney and I looked similar. We each bought an identical bright blue blazer, pants, and shoes. Chris was chosen to be the target of the gag because this was going to be so scary that we needed a person who wouldn't have a heart attack when it happened. And Chris was literally the only person we could think of who would be able to withstand it. Okay, now it gets good. After taking some mushrooms, just to add to the fun, I took Chris out gambling for a couple of hours while the party raged on in the room. Chris, of course, had no idea that Courtney was there. I was supposed to bring him back at exactly 2:45 a.m., which I did. When Chris and I got back to the room, everyone had left and we were alone, even though secretly they were all hiding up on the balcony looking down on us. There was a large screen TV placed in front of the couch, and Children of the Corn was playing on the TV. Chris and I sat down on the couch. It was very dark in the room except for the light from the TV, and as we sat down, Courtney began hacking furiously with their weird curved blade thing and horror music blaring. At that moment, I excused myself to go to the bathroom. Courtney and I switched in the bathroom. And Courtney returned to my seat on the couch, dressed in the exact same clothes I had been wearing, and sat right down next to Chris. The whole party and the opera singers, who were instructed to scream at the top of their lungs at the exact moment that Chris screamed, were watching from above. Adding to the weirdness was the fact that Courtney is a professional actor. So he sat down next to Chris on the couch and then turned and made eye contact with him with a horrible, scary, I'm going to kill you face that I could see from the bathroom that was so scary that even I was scared. This was only moments after I had been sitting next to Chris in the exact same spot. And meanwhile, in the background movie, Courtney was hacking up a storm with the movie queued up to the exact worst spot. Chris stood up and started slowly backing away in terror and confusion, trying to get a handle on what was happening, at which point I sort of panicked because I felt worried that it was just all too much. So I ran out thinking I would make it easier on him. But in reality, that's when he really lost it, because now there were 2 of me in the dark dressed identically, but one was Malachi. Anyway, my favorite part of the whole story is that by the next night, Courtney and Chris had become pals. And while we were playing the show, I kept seeing the two of them running around drinking and partying together. It was the Primus Halloween Harpua show. And then he said more about Chris than anything. He loved the whole thing. We all miss you, Chris. How about that?
Yeah, that's a good gag.
Could you imagine?
That's a good fucking gag. And Courtney Gaines, like it's funny that like we watched this one because I literally just watched Can't Buy Me Love like last week.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm a sucker for that movie. It's just one of those ones like bad 80s comedy that I've just resonated with me that I've watched and continue to watch throughout the years. Don't know anybody that talks about this movie anymore, but I love that movie. And Courtney Gaines is in that, of course.
Yep.
He was in a lot of good, great 80 movies and continues to work. I mean, he's great. That would have been fucking fantastic, though, that gag.
Could you imagine? Have you ever taken hallucinogenics at all?
No.
Okay.
I'm worried that it would fuck with me. More so than, yeah.
For those that have, I mean, that situation would be crazy anytime. Drinking, smoking, even sober. You know what I'm saying? But add to it that you're on shrooms. That just takes that whole thing and magnifies it times 100. All of a sudden, you're sitting there, and the guy's wearing the exact same clothes, and it's Malachi, and Malachi's on the TV. That would freak you the fuck out.
So, yeah, it would. That's fine. I'm not going to get into another story. I've got a story, but I was going to avoid it. It's about shrooms, but I'll save it for a rainy day.
Damn,
because it's not a good one. No, it's not. No, it's nothing good. I've led up to it, which is why I won't tell it now. And then we'll forget about it, and it will never come up again.
All right. So one day we'll have a show where we'll talk about drugs for a few hours, and it'll be fun. Okay. Drug stories. That could be a good topic for a BS show. Send us your drug stories. Oh, that would be great. Anyway, let's get on to the next movie. A classic, an American classic, if you will.
Gremlins, 1984. Directed by Joe Dante, a young man inadvertently breaks 3 important rules concerning his new pet and unleashes a horde of malevolently mischievous monsters on a small town. Malevolently mischievous monsters on a small town. Sorry, that was like a tongue twister.
Yeah, it is.
Malevolently mischievous monsters. Malevolently mischievous monsters.
Clit liquor is a tongue twister. What was it? Was it clit liquor or clit? I forgot. Either way, we had it once with B. I forgot what it was.
This
Clint
was
Tickler? I don't know.
No, it was directed by Joe Dante, but it was written by Chris Columbus, who must love sitting in his movies at Christmas time.
Here's the crazy part. This is a Christmas movie, and it was released in July that year, and then it was re-released a year later.
June, I thought.
Okay. It was released in June, and a year later, it was re-released in July at the theaters. Isn't that odd?
Weird. Well, probably because it was released, if you could believe it, the exact same day as Ghostbusters.
Wow.
The first time. And
I promise I saw them both.
I put this bit of trivia there. It was released in North America the same day. Gremlins ranked second with 12.5 million in its first weekend, 1.1 million less than Ghostbusters. Wow. But then it had earned almost 150 million by November 29th. So that's when movies stayed in the theater. The last time we saw a movie stay in the theater this long, or as long as it used to back in the day, I could safely say it's Titanic. Without it being like something that we don't know that's played in a second run theater that may be giving it life. Titanic, I was shocked. If you remember, that got released and just kept going and going and going until I believe it was Lost in Space remake with Matt LeBlanc knocked it out of first place out of all movies. But I think it just happened to be it had there was nothing new was dethroning it, and then that was the first, of the blockbusters to kind of challenge it and knock it out. But movies don't do that anymore. They really don't. They come, they go. Now they're fucking on a streaming service within a month, it seems, or a couple of months. It's shocking how quick the turnaround is.
The turnaround is quick because of the world has changed and because people like to stream, but it's overkill. That is the problem, is that every other month there's a new Marvel movie. If there was only one Marvel movie a year, you can damn well bet people would go and it would be at the theater for 3 months. The problem is everything's pushed out. Same thing with Star Wars. Star Wars has something coming out every year, every other year. Back in the day, it was special because it was every 3 years. That's why the Star Wars, the modern stuff, doesn't excite me like it used to. It still excites me, but it's granted I'm older. You know, I'm a grown man, and back then I was a kid, so it was more exciting because of that. But still, you waited for 3 years to see it. To me, there's something to be said about that. You know, I know it's money, but
I got a question to ask though, just from this movie, Gremlins. No one ever says, you know, Poltergeist. There's always that thing saying, oh, did Steven Spielberg secretly direct this movie or whatever? But you know, it's Toby, the toaster.
yeah.
But Gremlins, no one ever says, hey, did Steven Spielberg direct that one? Because it does have a whimsical Steven Spielberg feeling to it. I think Joe Dante has also done that with some of his films, but not previously to this, really. There's never been that whimsical feeling of Steven Spielberg. This, I know it's presented by, I know he was a producer, but it feels like he was right on top of it, no differently than Poltergeist, to give it that sort of wholesome feeling. Like this movie is very bizarre to me in a good way, that it actually blends comedy, horror, family, Christmas all together.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the closest thing to that, in my opinion, it's better. It's Krampus.
Agreed.
But this would be a very, like, this is a very not close second, but it's a second. Like the melding of this. My problem with this movie is when think other people, I think when people start loving it is when I fall out of it. And it all has to do with when they're in the bar. That bar sequence,
Amen.
I hate that bar sequence. I hate it.
Me too. Wow. You and I are on the exact same page. And let me say this. I want to throw Goonies into the mix as another one that felt Spielberg, that he produced. But felt Spielberg. Is that Richard Donner?
That was Richard Donner, yep.
But the same thing. I think anything that Spielberg had his producing credits on had that feel. I think he was just hands-on in all of them. But good point. True. They say that about Poltergeist. How come it doesn't apply to Gremlins and Goonies? And I bet there's other ones we're just not thinking off the top of our head. So, yes. But and yes to that, to what you said. It's the blending works, but for some reason, the beginning is fucking brilliant. The opening, the first act, the setup, excellent. Right? Now, here's the thing, what happens. It turns into horror at about the 50-minute mark when we get that horror sequence. And I wrote this stuff down because I'm so glad you're on the same page. But at about the 50-minute mark, that's when we get the scary horror scene with the teacher and the projector and all that stuff, which is great. Then immediately we get Billy coming in there, and he's terrorized by the one gremlin. Right after that, Gizmo gets shit canned after the dartboard. That's scary for him. He's getting tormented. And immediately, this is all in like 15 minutes.
It's scary for him.
Well, you know what I mean? It's horrific enough. You know, like seeing Gizmo.
The whole mom sequence, which is.
And then the mom sequence. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That is literally 15 straight minutes. That starts at the 50-minute mark. And then we get all that horror lumped in there. Then all of a sudden, then it flashes back to the father at the convention, little lighthearted shit, whatever. Yeah. And then we get to the bar scene. That is 100% correct.
A jump the shark moment, almost.
Thank you. These are my words.
In my opinion.
My words. Listen, this is my note right here. It says, okay, Goldsmith. Oh, here's one. The snow should have worked for water. Remember when Stripe jumps out of the freaking thing?
Snow, alcohol. It's like, I was like, they're not even abiding by their own rules. I'm nitpicking. But yes, they step on snow, they step on water, they're drinking beer and whatever. That's not multiplying them.
Right.
What do you think beer and alcohol is made out of?
Right. I know. The pool scene, I'll get to that a little, but hold on. How did I say this? Okay. Fun. I'm talking, this is about the bar scene. It's fun, but a little shark jumping. That's what I said.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
It overstays its fun because it's like, okay, it gets from being funny and cute to being like, okay, I'm done with this now. Please get to the next scene. Right. And it does. I just, like, again, we're not talking about a super long sequence, but it feels like the movie stops dead for it.
Yep. And like 20 minutes.
And it feels like it's that long. And then you pick up and go into the last act. So something in that, after the horror elements, that are great. So that beautiful introduction, the beautiful turn into horror. And I actually have to question. I tried to, well, when I say I tried to research it, I looked it up, didn't get the answers I wanted, stopped looking for it. But I wanted to see reactions, because you could actually find reactions to when Maniac came out, and people talking about Maniac and when it hit the theater and how it was a horrible movie and too much violence and it's too real and what effect it would have on society. You can find that. I am shocked that if you took your kids to see this movie, even though it was probably rated PG-13 and had all the, frightening scenes and whatever.
Hold on a minute.
Okay, what?
After you finish that thought, I have a story about that. Not
okay,
story, just
that I can't imagine that parents weren't leaving angered about the horrific elements in this and how scary it got, how kind of gory it got in a couple of sequences, and that revelation about Saint Nick. Yeah.
Yep. I think that was the biggest pisser of them all. But I'll tell you the story. I was going into the theater. It was at the University 8, which was across from the Summit Park Mall. Great theater when I remember everything about this day. Not this day, but this experience. Going to the University 8 and going in there and standing in line and seeing a piece of paper, like white paper that you would type on, and there was a sign up. And I want to say that it was bold. So either, I don't know, 84, was there a computer that could have put this stuff on there? I don't know.
Yeah,
but I
course,
remember, okay. So somebody took a computer, they typed it out.
Crayon.
They put it on this white piece of paper, and it was up in the lobby when you're in line. And the line was like this. It was a snake. There was a line to get into the movie. And the sign said this. And it said, although Gremlins is rated PG, there are certain scenes and sequences in this film that may not be suitable for children under the age of 13 due to violence or something. So this is what brought about, this and another movie are the ones that brought about the PG-13 thing coming in. I believe Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom was the one that I remember as well.
Okay. Yeah. So, but I remember being that age, I was 12 myself, you know what I mean? And seeing that sign in line at that thing, and that was the first time I ever saw it. That's why I remember, because where else do you see it? But I think that half of the reason for that was because of the Santa Claus thing. Yes, the gore and everything else, fine, and the violence. But I think people would have been angry at the Santa Claus thing. Seriously, because you shouldn't do that. Not to kids watching a movie. And it should have been.
I was shocked. Yeah.
Right.
I remember. Well, I watched this, and it's funny enough. I saw Ghostbusters, but I didn't see Gremlins. I'm almost positive that's the way. Yeah, because Gremlins, I saw it when it came out on video, and it was I swear it was that Christmas, and we were having a party. My parents had it was a big Christmas party. I was sick, but so the kids were in the basement, and I remember we put this on, and I had to keep running to have diarrhea.
Oh, that sucks.
But I was enjoying the movie, and that was my experience with Gremlins. But so I didn't have a theatrical. Like, if you had to tell me Ghostbusters or Gremlins, Ghostbusters, no question. That's the one I'm picking, Ghostbusters. But I love Gremlins. I love it too. But Ghostbusters would be the one I'm picking. It would be Ghostbusters and Goonies, and just as much as Ghostbusters. I think that's a level playing field. And then Gremlins would come in after it. It's probably because I saw Goonies in the theater twice. I saw Ghostbusters once, and I think it's that theatrical experience at the young age. That's why Back to the Future resonates so well with me too, because I saw that in the theater, and absolutely one of my favorite scripts, one of my favorite films. Just great movie. And maybe if I saw this, I would still have that whole too. So I saw it, and I would watch it here and there, but I totally forgot about that Santa Claus thing. I remember showing Allie when she was younger, and then my mouth dropping. Thankfully, I think it went over her head, and she wasn't, maybe she was half paid attention.
Right.
But like, again, I always remember
that.
I remember the frog in the blender joke, so to speak. I remember the microwave scene, the decapitation. I was like, it's crazy. And again, they have to do gremlin things. Dick Miller steals the fucking show.
Right.
It sees the whole foreign cars, foreign TVs,
it's great.
Everything. It's fucking hilarious. And all that shit's good. Like, they die, but they don't show it, right? Like,
no, they show the dozer coming at them. They show the
and that's it. And then the woman getting propelled out of the window. But what I liked is he tried to do things that he wanted to do. Joe Dante got away with things that he wanted to do in the Halloween that were actually filmed but were cut out, where he mixes the practical with animation and stuff like that. Like some people don't like that, but I love how he worked it into this movie. One of the things is the stop motion of the gremlins coming down the street in the big herd.
Yep. Yeah.
Great, because it's like
cool.
a love note to old movies. And then
I
also where the film gets cut and they're coming out of the theater and you see them all with the white screen and it's all just animated.
Yeah.
That's really cool too. That's where the movie gets back on track for me, when they come out of the theater, and it's like I think because that's after they go to the bar.
That's third act. That's climax. Right, because they die in the theater except for Stripe, and they go through all that good stuff at the end. That's what I'm saying. I'm with you there, and 100%. And by the way, November 25th, 1985. That's when it came to home video. So you saw it the next year for Christmas. Yeah. Which is awesome. And I saw Ghostbusters. I saw them both when they came out because I know because of the story of the sign that was up. And I didn't see the date it came out, but I think the next week. But I saw the opening weekend. I saw Ghostbusters at the drive-in theater. Actually, that's where I went to see it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but we did. So that was a story about Ghostbusters. But and I also didn't show this to Francesca when she was young because I always remember that Santa Claus story. So I just remember that. I've seen the movie a ton.
It's so crazy that they whittled that in. It's so weird. Dark, and it's such a dark backstory too.
Yes.
As well. And I love the whimsical. I love all the actors in it. Like we mentioned Dick Miller. We mentioned we didn't mention Phoebe Cates being in this, and and Judge Reinhold. It's almost like they came, even though it was a couple years later, off of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and they're in this
with her, by the way, masturbating to her. Phoebe Cates. How about that? He's pursuing her in this movie. He wants to take her off. So he always had a thing for Phoebe Cates.
Of course, crazy.
Right, but it just occurred, and something else just occurred to me this time. And I know people are going to say, Dave, how did you not know that? But I recently watched Goonies like a month ago, and didn't make the connection that Corey Feldman was in both. And when the cop says to him, yeah, what about that one time, Mouth? And he goes, when you said all those little creatures with the water bump on them and they multiplied. It's a direct result. Everyone knew he was talking Gremlins, but did everyone know it was the same actor?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's so funny that you say that. It's a good revelation. You're right. It's so on the nose, and yet I talk about the fucking missing octopus scene, yet I forget that aspect of it. It's crazy. Right. And Gizmo's a marvel. Like,
oh, dude,
the life that they give Gizmo, the fact that they make him so cute, but yet not hateable cute, not so cutesy that you want to fucking strangle it.
Not at all.
It works so well. The animatronics are so well. I did notice, for whatever reason, I usually pick up on this shit, but usually the movies, especially with a Spielberg attached to it, are so flawless. But I did notice whether it be Stripe or one of the malicious ones are throwing the dishes at the mom in the kitchen, you can see like the Jim Henson wire holding his arm going back and forth, throwing it's like, for a millisecond, a second or two, you can just see the wire controlling the arm throwing the dish. Yeah.
Do you have the
just in that one sequence?
How do you own this? 4K, blue, what?
I have no, I have it on like DVD.
Well, maybe that's why. Now, I bet it's been cleaned up since then. I have the 4K, but let me tell you this. I had the 4K, but it is not worth the purchase. But granted, it probably looks better than the blue that I had from 2009, which is fine, but it's not significant. As a matter of fact, Children of the Corn blue from Arrow, which I watched Children of the Corn, looks better than the Gremlins 4K.
Really?
Just so anybody knows. Yeah, that's just the way it is. It still looks best as it ever has, but it's not. You don't look at it and say, "Oh, that's 4K, that's beautiful." That's not the experience here.
Well, there's a lot of those out there, which is why like everything is getting the 4K release.
And I'm not buying in.
It's funny. All of a sudden now I'm noticing that they're releasing a shit ton.
You know why?
4K now.
Because the only assholes buying it are people like us that want the 4K. It's a niche market.
But I'm going to be, I said, I have my list of what I'm going to buy.
Right.
And that's it. And now I'm stopping buying Blu-ray, knowing it. But what they're doing is they're just putting a $10 to $20 premium on top of it.
Right. Yeah, I'm not buying into that shit.
I mean,
I'm not going to be a mark. No, I'm not going to be a mark for everything. I don't need to see fucking Porky's on 4K. I'm sorry.
No, exactly.
That's how I look. I mean, yes, I did upgrade from DVD to Blue. That was significant. For the jump to 4K, I don't need. Do I want Lord of the Rings 4K? Yes. Harry Potter? Yes. Horror
I
movies,
don't
certain
have,
ones? Yes.
but if I don't have it and I want it and it's a good price, I'll get it. Like if Revenge of the Nerds came out in 4K, yeah, it wouldn't be my. Do I need it in 4K? No. But if it was a good price, plus I heard
Yes.
that changing the
Yes.
line of Booger changes his lines because we've got 4K Bush, we've got 4K Bush.
Oh God. Oh shit.
Sorry, everybody.
It's
Forgive
okay.
us, please.
Let me get into this thing though. Back to the. I always try to do this when I watch a movie, especially a movie I like. I try to make things plausible and explain them. You've heard me say that, and if I can come up with an explanation, I'm satisfied. So when it gets down to the bar scene, let me say this. I always used to question, how do they know about all these things they're referencing? But hold on. They did spend a lot of time watching TV, as did Gizmo. So they would be aware of many, and they even I think they might have even done this on purpose. Well, they did for the sake of the movie, but not for us analyzing it. But Gizmo watching the guy drive, and they even do a little excerpt of a conversation that he had, and I never noticed that till this time watching it.
In the memory,
Yeah.
like it's almost like a memory. So they're linking it back. Yeah.
So yes, they did see these things on TV, so that is plausible to me. Where okay, they know about Flashdance because of this, they know about this because of this, and they know about this. But here's the problem now. Here is the problem. Where would they find guns, and where would they find small clothes to fit them?
True.
Impossible.
True.
That's the problem.
That is a movieism. That's just like a Muppet thing. I mean, but I get it. You're right. If you really want to nitpick and tear it apart, for sure. And again, like that bar scene, people probably love it. That was probably meant for the kids, even though that's really Joe Dante having fun. Joe Dante, I think he might have been. He's not the only one to have done it, but he might have been one of the first to really pack his movies in with a bunch of in jokes. More so than others. I think because he's just he was a movie fanatic, a movie fan, and I think he wanted to put those in. Whether it be Looney Tunes, because he did the Looney Tunes movie, and you know, the Gizmo, or not Gizmo, one of them comes out of, maybe it's Gizmo hiding, I don't know, but they push the Looney Tune stuffed animals away in the store at the end. I think it's Spike, and he actually pushes E.T. out of the way. Almost like Steven Spielberg and Steven Spielberg in joke to E.T. like, get out of here. And not only that, but Joe Dante was a Looney Tunes fan, and he got his Looney Tunes stuffies in there, and then ended up directing a Looney Tunes movie later. But like, there's that shit that he puts in there, and he puts the movie references, which like
that's for adults, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's for adults, but the playback and all the in jokes that are happening in that bar scene are all takes of movie cliches and everything else that has happened. So
but for adults.
For adults. But
you know what I'm saying? But goofy so enough for kids.
Exactly. But it's too off the wall that I didn't care. And I wanted, every time we get to that scene, I almost want to skip over it.
I know. It's too much. Especially.
The movie, absolutely not. But I want to skip over it.
No, I'm with you. Especially every time. I never liked that the Flashdance thing. Super madness and doing that thing. That's the one part that I would roll my eyes at. Oh, maybe as a kid I popped for all that stuff because I knew the reference and this and that. So at the time it's fun. But like I said, in retrospect, it's very shark jumpy. It's too much. It's just, again, I've made excuses for some of it. Yes, they can get drunk, and yes, they can do that and do cigarettes and just have fun and be bad, but I can't. Where do the clothes and the guns come from? I'm not going to excuse that. So I am fair. I do try to make it plausible. Okay, maybe they saw this on. But here's another thing I don't like.
The gun where? He saw the gun in the end scene. Was there other guns that I'm missing?
They were shooting fucking Phoebe Cates and each other in the bar. They were playing cards, shooting each other. There was all kinds of gunplay in the bar. That's what she was really afraid of. And then they took a shot at her. Yeah, dude, there were guns. So I mean, where do these guns all of a sudden?
Maybe I did skip over this. That's fine, but I mean, they don't even really follow their own rules. If you really want to bring it down to the actual script level, you can make the argument that every critic always makes, where you have a time limit on something. You have to we've got to get you back by 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. We got to, this time or whatever. Don't feed them after midnight. Is that Eastern Standard Time? Is that Atlantic Time? Is that Pacific
not
time?
Even that.
Like, I mean, you can make,
when does it end?
That argument. When does it end? Exactly. What's my reign of what's my reference there? The getting wet is totally ignored because they hop out, land in snow, and whatever. That's water.
Again, I can look away from that. Certain things I try to make it plausible and say, okay, though I'm not going to nitpick the snow, but I want to mention it, and I'm not going to nitpick that, but I am going to say the thing about the clothes and the guns. It's a bridge too far. I mean, there's some things I can make plausible in my head and do this and do that. The hi-ho thing is the worst. It is the fucking Snow White hi-ho thing is the worst because they act as if they've heard that song all their lives. How the fuck are they going to know the lyrics to hi-ho when it comes on? It's we go. Even Gizmo knows it. He's in there singing it. That's a little too much. Here's the thing. You could have fixed it by having them watch it earlier in the movie. Just a scene. Just show the Gremlins
Maybe
in the room
Maybe
watching
it was
the
cut
apple.
down for...
Yeah, I know, but just watch one scene with the witch and the apple, so there's some fucking thing where they've seen Snow White, and even as a kid, I questioned that, and I was a fucking dumb 12-year-old kid, whatever I am watching the movie. After midnight, I didn't think about Eastern Standard Pacific. I just figured it's going to apply for wherever you are, which is fine. Again, to me, that's plausible. I can overlook that. But when does it end? After midnight till when? Midnight till 6? Midnight till 8? What? Here's what they should have done. It could have been so simple. They should have just said they can't eat bananas. That's it. Don't feed them fucking bananas. How hard could that be? It only happened in the one scene where they ate. Why not say, hey, let's not have any bananas in the house? And then maybe when Corey Feldman visits the first time, for whatever reason, he has a bunch of
frozen banana.
Something. And a thing comes down and they fucking eat a banana. Matter of fact, you see bananas laying around in the kitchen scene in the bowl. Why not just say bananas or a certain food at any time? They can do this. Don't ever feed them citrus fruit. Any fucking thing.
Why are Christmas movies
citrus
now?
Fruit.
Citrus.
The orange machine. No, because the Peltzer orange machine fucked up. Maybe the stuff squirted out and they forgot because they didn't see the oranges. They forgot.
Who has a whole tray full of chicken wings in the fridge ready to be eaten? Like, who was supposed to be eating those and who didn't eat them? I love the dad's inventions though. The bathroom buddy.
Yeah,
I like him.
He's great.
All the actors are great. They're just so natural and great, likable. You get that. In the movies, they love doing this in a few Christmas movies. Who gets their Christmas tree the 23rd or 24th of December?
I know.
But it happens in a lot of these movies. You're like maybe back in the day, that's what people did. Maybe that was the whole thing. You get your tree, and that's what you did at Christmas time. You set your tree up. Now it seems like after Thanksgiving in the States, the American Thanksgiving, people put their tree up or they get their shit ready so that they've got a month or so of Christmas.
They buy into the commercialism of it, and they get into the mood,
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's right or wrong. I just know that we've never bought a Christmas tree on the 23rd or 24th of December.
Oh, are you kidding me? No. I mean, if it's a real tree, you want it to be close enough. Well, no, I guess you don't because you put it in water. It's not going to die. So, no, I don't know who would do that. But that is a popular thing. You're right. But I will tell you this. I do love that Christmas song. It's in movies. Christmas. Na, 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 na. Oh, what the hell is it? I have it in my fucking Christmas list. Christmas. You know what I'm talking about, right? It was also used in another movie, but I always think of the other movie as opposed to this one. You know what other movie that was used in? It's a famous movie.
But it's funny because it's one of those Christmas songs that you don't necessarily hear on the rotation, yet when you hear it in this movie, you're like, why don't you hear that song? And I said the exact same thing. I know exactly the song you're talking about. And I feel like it never gets its play on the radio. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I never hear that one. Maybe it's because I control the Christmas music in the sense of if I'm in the car and if I'm going to be listening to Christmas music, it's going to be the ones I want to hear.
This, right?
Yeah.
This is it's Darlene Love. It's in my fucking mix. I have a Christmas list that I play every Christmas Eve and when I had whatever. I love this fucking song, but it is overlooked.
It was a very popular 80s Christmas movie song, I think.
I always regard it to another movie, and that movie is Goodfellas. They played in Goodfellas at Christmas time, and every fucking time I hear that song, I think of Goodfellas, and they're drinking at the bar later. That's when they're all real happy, and fucking Maury's trying to get the money, and they find out that Tommy's gonna be made soon. It's just a real celebratory time. It's fucking great. I even had it queued to be the song that played on Christmas Eve when my brother got to the door when I started my mix. So he walked into fucking that song, and I knew he'd think of Goodfellas.
By the way, have you bought Goodfellas or Casino on 4K?
I have held out because I want to get the right one in the right price. But
okay, so they've been down to, both of them have been down to like $15.99 at one point. But I want to find out if I haven't looked at reviews. I want to see what people are saying about them. I have this feeling that they weren't done well, but I don't know. I don't know where I got this feeling from, but I feel like I want to hold out and if they do a special edition version or something. But I just didn't know if you had them and could.
No, but I plan to, of course, absolutely Goodfellas first. But I have to find out. But I'm going to wait a little bit and see. But yeah, I do plan to. So what the hell? But yeah, that song is great. It's a great Christmas song, and again, this is going to be a Christmas movie for me that I kind of neglect, but it does have that feel. And what's her name? Fucking Deagle is a classic fucking Christmas villain, like a Scrooge or
she's she's the Wicked Witch of the West. Like Dude. It seems like they stole a page, and I bet you Joe Dante being
the dog,
like a movie fan. There's direct connections to that, and that's the first thing I thought of is, oh my God, she plays that evil, like almost like her as the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm surprised you didn't put that music in kind of in the background in a sense with the dog and the attack and the acting the way she does. It's just, oh, it's great. There's a lot to love here. It's a fun movie. I think it balances everything well. I think it does. I don't like that one or two sequences there at the hour and 15-minute mark, I think, but it doesn't ruin the movie. But I will say, when it was picked and I was putting it on, just like you, I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this right now. Right. But then I put it on and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes. Yes. Same thing happened here. And I realized watching it this time that I really need, this is a Christmas classic that I really should watch in December. Like moving forward, like I never think about it as I know it takes place on Christmas, but I never think about it. But it does still have that feel, and it has that whimsical stuff, and it's funny, and they don't take it too seriously with the bar scene and stuff like that. So there's stuff. Now, let me see here. Yeah, I love the Christmas song. Oh, how about this? How come clip-on tie didn't get over? It looks like such an easy fucking thing.
Yeah.
Why do you enjoy tying ties?
I hate it.
Okay.
I gotta look. I still have to look at the internet every now and then because I'm like, I think I've done this wrong. I gotta look at the fucking how to do it. I knew as a teenager. I think my dad showed me enough that I knew how to do it. I don't wear ties. Like I wear a tie so infrequently now, even for business. Thank God our business has gone to the point where you can wear if you wanted to. If I had to even dress up, I could wear a dress shirt, dress jacket, but still keep just like that look. The open collar look. Nice. I love it because I need my neck to breathe. Damn it.
Yeah. But why not? Why are clip-on ties so shunned? I don't get it. You should, if they're done right, you shouldn't even know they're a clip-on. I can't believe they're not still around. It sounds like a great idea for an invention.
Sure, you can find them on. I'm pretty sure you could probably put clip-on tie and get what you need.
Yeah, but
there's a market for everything now.
But that's what I'm saying. The point is, how come they didn't take over for the other tie? Who wants to tie a tie?
Oh, yeah, that I can't answer you. But
that's what I'm saying. When I see it in this movie, I'm like, well, wait a minute. How come this isn't, okay. So here's another funny thing. Nobody is surprised at Gizmo. When he's revealed the first time for Billy, if somebody showed you that at any age, wouldn't you be like, what the fuck? Oh my God, what is this creature? I've never even heard of this. Look at this thing. This is nobody's surprised at it. When he sees it, he's not really surprised. He's like, oh yeah, cool. And like the same thing when Corey Feldman comes in and he shows it to him. Oh yeah, he's cute.
Yeah. Don't you think bored of him?
It's like an alien. But it's like an alien. If you saw that, wouldn't it just wouldn't like life as you know it like instantly change? Don't you think if you went to someone's house and you saw that thing running around? Yeah. I think it'd be too much to handle.
Well, I think they allude to it where he's like, "Oh, I just have to have it." Like they made the design well enough. They made the design well enough that it seems like it could be something that you would find in like Africa or I don't know, like Asia somewhere. Obviously, based on where they pick it up, where it could exist, but it's just not something that Western civilization is aware of. And then I think that they sell you enough on that I was able to buy it. But you're right, like they're kind of like, oh, it's cute, and that's about the only
Right.
reaction. Not like, what the hell am I looking at here? And the
Right.
fact that it's reciting things like almost
Yeah.
like a parrot, and that it
Right.
can do shit. Like,
Yeah, dude. It's amazing. That would blow me away. Like
I
life
mean,
as I know it would change.
they
Like,
make a joke of it being able to replace the family dog, and then they cut to the dog
right.
for its reaction. And I guess the script deals with it in that regard or in that way. But you're right. There probably should have been maybe a little bit more like of a what the fuck am I looking at from
Right.
one
A
or two
little.
of the characters at least.
Fucking sell it, man. Sell it.
Yeah.
That this is nothing's ever been seen like this. I don't get that. The first time you saw this movie, did you think that the dog was hung when you saw it out there on their porch that way, tied up in the Christmas lights?
Yes.
Me too. Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't. I mean, it would have been pretty dark.
Well,
but
it is a dark, yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that the woman, I don't think they'd even fly nowadays. If you watch the movie and the woman literally is telling the guy in the bank, Billy, that fucking, it's going to be a slow death for this dog, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put it in my dryer, and the guy says, yeah, that'll do it, or something like that. I'm like, what the fuck? They're so casual about giving a dog slow death. I just think it's kind of comical.
So, I think I might have known this in the background, but it was a note that I put down. So Howie Mandel does Gizmo?
Yes, I've known that for years because of that movie, that cartoon show that he did. What the hell was, Billy something, or what the fuck was that? Remember that cartoon he did?
Does he do, well, I mean, I knew he did voices. So
Bobby's World.
Specifically, Gizmo is the only one, or does he do multiple? Because it says voice actors, Howie Mandel. So I just assumed it meant more than Gizmo.
Who knows? He might have done one of the Gremlins singing Hi Ho or fucking one of the scenes. You know what I mean?
But
why not?
Interesting.
You can do voices. You could do other voices. You can go, bye, Billy. And then you can go, hi ho, hi ho. You could do it all.
I think I didn't know that way back in the day, or for a long time. I think it was one of those posts, that someone does on the internet. That I was today days old, or today's years old when I found out that Howie Mandel was Gizmo. One of your favorite posts.
Yeah. No, I knew that. I've known this for like 20 years. Because
I was
when
today's days old. Years old. Fuck. I fucked it up.
Whatever it is, today's year old. But I can't even fucking say it.
Yeah.
But
that's stupid.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? But yeah, remember that show Bobby's World, that cartoon? That was him. He was a little boy and he had the same voice as Gizmo.
Not really.
And it was
not really, because I know. I remember the name sounds familiar, but I never watched it.
No, I didn't watch it. I watched
like Bob's Burgers. I've never watched Bob's Burgers.
I don't like the look of it. I don't like the look of the animation.
Something didn't resonate with me either, so I never watched it. That's what I actually thought you were talking about. But I'm like, well, that came out way later. So it's Bobby's World.
I should, if I had the time, I'd put it on YouTube and play it.
No, I'll look at it after.
Another funny thing, the teacher, he's really pushing that fucking. He's really trying to get a gift from these kids, like to the point that it's ridiculous. It was like, yeah, you can get me a ticket to the Super Bowl. A Corvette, red, but he's following them out the door like a little kid would follow their father in a store asking him to buy him a Snickers bar. Like he actually thinks in his head that if he keeps begging these kids, that one of their parents is going to buy him a ridiculously expensive gift. I'm like, how hard are you going to push this fucking joke? I mean, it would have been better if he was just sitting there making a couple wise-ass comments about it, and then, hey, have a great Christmas. Hey, when you come back, give me tickets to the Super Bowl. That'd be good. Or so. But again, there are little things like that happen in the movie where it's like trying too hard. And that's, and it's a good thing, as bad as his fucking inventions were, the one invention that worked saved their life. All his inventions sucked. But when the gremlin was in the freaking spinny thing and she pressed the button, they should have played a joke on it. Maybe at first it spun for like a half a second and then paused and she could have rolled her eyes and said, oh, figures, or slapped her forehead. And then it went. That's what I would have done in my movie, just to tie into the running gag that, this shit doesn't work. You know what I mean? What else? The scene in the pool is fucking amazing. When they jump in the YMCA and the lightning and the smoke. It's so well done, man.
Yeah, no, like there's so much good that keeps this movie as being a timeless, I guess, kind of timeless, falling in some sort of feeling that a Ghostbusters or Goonies would have.
Right.
Came out, that's what I'm saying, 84 and 85 resonate very well with me, not just in horror, but just in the movies that came out.
Yeah.
That I have to almost reevaluate. If I had to look at, like, I guess because I was that 10, 11-year-old age.
Mm-hmm.
In that time frame, Christian's age right now, and those movies just like, before that, I've mentioned on the show Wizard of Oz, but I didn't see it in the theater. It was my experience of just watching it and rewatching it at home.
Right.
And of course, Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark resonated in those first three of each, and then here you just had everything, even Temple of Doom, which actually made me gag, and I had to leave the theater with the whole dinner sequence because I was gagging at what they're eating, and I had to leave and go to the washroom for a bit and come back. Oh,
wow!
I remember as a kid that bothered me so much.
Monkey brains. That was it, huh? I loved it. I love the heart being ripped out.
It was the Beatles. It was the Beatles that they're eating. That made me sick, and the snakes. Oh,
it is. Oh, forget it. Here, but I'll say this about the '80s. This is further proof how fucking great the 80s were, and it's not nostalgia. Look at it this way. 84, 85, yes, we're that age, and we remember it all fondly in this movie. Do you think that the kids that were that age in 94, 95, or now, Christian, your son, now, do you think things that are coming out now in 30 years, he's going to look back on, and they're going to be American classics that are fondly remembered like the things we talk about are? I do not. The latest Marvel movie that comes and goes.
I don't know, because there's too many Marvel movies. Like, that's the problem, right?
Right.
That's the problem. Like, now you're going to be like, you might say, yeah, I like Iron Man 3, which is not now, but you know what I mean? But
still,
like, there's just such a overkill of it that it would probably have to be something that stands apart from that will resonate. But
do we have?
I can't think of it such as right now. But I think we have it in horror. So I'm sure that there's going to be something that resonates in non-horror right now. But there doesn't seem to be.
What about 94?
Right now? It seems to be 95. Outdoing your predecessor in the movies. I don't feel like we're getting a Back to the Future-esque script, a Ghostbusters-esque script, where it delivers on all fronts. Where it delivers on the script, the comedy, the fright, and it doesn't even have to have the fright because we're talking about the Goonies and whatever, but a mix of everything where it's like acting, comedy, script. There's a whimsicalness to the script. You can almost feel like if you read the script that it would have that same life as what you're seeing on the screen. And then the fact you got the talent to put it on the screen only helps as well. But it's funny that Spielberg had a say in everything but Ghostbusters. Like when I'm thinking about it, the Goonies, Gremlins, even Back to the Future.
Yeah.
The three that we're mentioning there. And then of course his own movies.
See, didn't that feel it? That's produced. That's Robert Zemeckis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, another director, Spielberg's involved in the production and has that feel. So you're right about that with the Poltergeist. Everything else felt like that too. That wasn't his. So guess what? That's just one more movie. It doesn't mean he directed it.
But I believe it's because Toby Hooper came from that fucking the darkness of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the grittiness of that, no Hollywood feel to it.
I get
it. Just grim and grisly. Sorry. And then did something just lighthearted musical, but then really never returned to that because then he got into the canon field, and then it was more. So I think Zemeckis has proven himself over and over and over again to be a competent director. Please hear me out here. I'm not saying competent in mainstream cinema, whereas like Toby Hooper felt like he wanted to deliver, and then Toby Hooper's, of course, unfortunately, his career fell apart near the end. But when you've got from that Texas Chainsaw Massacre to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, like I've got like I even like Eaten Alive, The Funhouse, Poltergeist. I mean, you've got other movies in there, so you've got a nice catalog of film there, and then you've got fans of Invaders from Mars and Life Force. I'm not the biggest fans of either, but you do have fans of those.
Right? Yeah. Yes, you do.
So I'm just saying that, like, I think it's because he went back to the gore and went back to things that weren't not mainstream, where Joe Dante continued on his mainstream. Like, he followed this up with Explorers. Explorers I just rewatched that. Liked it as a kid. Holy shit, is that a horrible movie?
I never saw it.
Horrible. Like, yeah, you got your movie references, like, I'll come back now, yeah? It's the stuff that dreams are made of. They all talk. It's again it's almost like you took the gizmo fact of watching TV and being affected by it to aliens growing up on TV, and that's all they know of Earth and civilization. That's the only thematic theme that carries over. But just from a delivery standpoint, it's just so dated, where the effects are just don't work nowadays. It just kind of falls apart. It doesn't have that staying power. But he kept trying. He had Matinee. He had like there was a magic, a love for movies, and and that would transcend through even some of his lesser works as he went on. But he still kept trying to do it. Zemeckis the same way. Donner, of course, had it before with Superman, and he continued it with the Lethal Weapon movies and other these were competent in mainstream movie making, and I don't think Tobe Hooper ever did that the same way he did in Poltergeist.
Well, no, because he did
great movies, but a horror based. Exactly.
He was a horror guy, just like Wes Craven. Wes Craven could have made a produced movie from Steven Spielberg, and it would have been a one-off for him, still horror, and then gone back to doing what he was doing. And remember, that's the way they were. These guys that came from the 70s, they were kind of hippies. They totally like Wes Craven and Tobe Hooper. You know what I mean? They had that mentality, and they were just into horror. So they enjoyed doing it. They didn't just use it because they liked it and then let's see if this leads to more Hollywood stuff. Like Romero. You know what I mean? They stuck to their guns. That's just what they liked. And that's not a knock on Dante or Zemeckis, anybody. I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm just saying that these guys were straight horror guys, and they had more of a love, I believe, for the genre than those other guys would have for genre films, period. So that's why they went right back to it. And that's fine. How about, speaking of this and E.T. and all those other movies, did you notice the E.T. nod in this movie with the dolls? The same scene happened. Go ahead. Do you know?
I said it earlier when the one in the store, the toy store, he pushes the E.T. doll out of the way like in that.
Oh, I thought you said in the Looney Tunes fucking thing he did it. Okay.
Well, it's two Looney Tunes, Sylvester and I think Bugs Bunny, and E.T. doll is in the middle of them.
But do you know why they did that in particular with E.T.? Not just for the joke, but I'll tell you why. Because E.T. himself did it in E.T. There was that scene when the mother comes in the room and E.T. is hiding inside stuffed animals. So they took it and they went a step further. They said, let's make E.T. a stuffed animal now, and our new creature, the Gremlin, is going to be hiding amongst the stuffed animals. E.T. is now pop culture now. He is just another stuffed animal here. You know what I mean? So we're just that was the nod. When you were talking about it before, I thought you said that they did that in the Looney Tunes movie, and he directed the Looney Tunes.
Oh movie. No. It was in this. It was this, but it's just because you could tell he's a Looney Tunes fan, and then he went on to direct a Looney Tunes movie, and it just happens to be in this too. And it's funny because the reference then would be the joke or to the scene that you said in E.T. But
great stuff.
Just great. And again, I mentioned the design of Gizmo. I don't want to take anything away from the design of the actual Gremlins, like Spike and whatever. Fantastic monster design. Like, to be honest, like they look
awesome.
Great. Yeah.
So good. So good.
Yep.
And I will say this, the demise of Stripe as a main villain in this movie is as good of a fucking demise to any villain in any movie. I think that scene looks and is played. It's amazing. And he jumps out after. First, he's melting and the fucking shit's falling and everything else. And then the jump at the end and the way he looks and he's half a skull. I think that is so good. I love it, man. I love it.
There's like jump scares in this movie that work. I will say that it's not just this movie, and it's always been, and it's sometimes I love it in the movie, and sometimes it's what drives me crazy in the movie. When they play around with time, they don't do that as much. Oh, maybe I'll have to rephrase that. I'm sure they still do it, but it feels like it's a staple of the 80s where you'll have Stripe moving up on that fountain. You know that he's already getting wet. But it's not until he puts his finger into the fountain that it actually starts. So they're playing with time and your anticipation. And I'm like, well, wait, he should already be starting to bubble up. And they could have done it. But then it takes Gizmo. He's got to jump that thing, get to the thing, pull the cord, and they're playing with time. Now, again, De Palma was great with this in almost like a manipulation of everything, which is fantastic because that's what they're doing. They're manipulating time because it's a movie, and that whole sequence in Carrie does it well. But there's a laundry list of 80s movies that don't do it well. And I'm not saying they do it well or not do it well here, but I'm always like, come on, pull that damn cable. He should already be turning. Get it done. And it always goes through my head. But I'd have to say that's not a detriment to the film. That actually means I'm invested and I care. But it's just one of those things. I'm always like, I gotta get it going to that. I know it's gonna happen, but it should have trimmed it down a little bit or something just to make. I hope I'm making myself clear, but it's just one of those things that I've noticed, and it happens in many movies. It probably happens in the Goonies too, where I always notice these little things that I'm like, that should have happened faster, or something we should have gotten to the next level just a little bit quicker. Again, total nitpick, 9 out of 10 for me. It is a classic for a reason, but yeah, I don't have it as high as I do Back to the Future or Ghostbusters.
No, and I'm with you. Well, I don't know about Back to the Future Ghostbusters comparisons exactly. I'd have to think about that, but it's also a 9 out of 10 for me. It is.
Well, those are 10 out of 10s for me. That's why I say that. Yeah, that's fair. Why I've got.
I don't know if they are for me. I do quite enjoy them. Maybe Back to the Future, maybe not Ghostbusters. I'm not gonna get into the whole thing, but I know I love Ghostbusters too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, and Goonies and everything else. But
you like Ghostbusters too? I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Right.
Ghostbusters also.
Yeah. How about the Asian guy at the end? Because this is something that I know because I used to see it all the time at the casinos all my life. Where he goes, "You teach him to watch television," and then he says, "Ayah, ayah." I say it to this day because I used to hear it every day at the casino. That's something Chinese people say when they're like, disappointed in something. Ayah. They would always say it at the casino. If they
I never heard it other than this movie, but that's
yeah.
Funny that
It's funny that they took on a whole new life for me when I got in the casino industry. Like I can say to my wife right now, ayah, and she'll know what I'm talking about. But then when I see it in this movie, I'm like, that's true to form. That is something that's really cool. What there was one more thing. Oh, I think it's funny that they bother to take Gizmo's temperature for no reason in the fucking towards the end of the movie. Like, what is his normal temperature? Why are you taking it now? Have you done it before? But
true. Right? He's got that sad face.
Yeah, and that's just it. See, Gizmo is so cute, and I feel so bad for him every time things go wrong. And when he's playing with that gun by the Christmas tree, and they abuse him and they throw stuff at him, and then he just shakes his head slowly and he has that sad look. I'm such a mark for fucking Gizmo when he shows sad faces and shit. It really and I'll tell you what, it's not like the end of E.T., where I to this day will shed a tear at the end of that fucking movie and try to hide it if someone's around me. But I did cry in the theater when I was a kid. It's not to that level at all. But the end of this movie, when he opens up, he has something to say to you, and he goes, "Bye, Billy." That fucking pulls at my fucking heartstrings, man. Something about it. It just brings it. I'm like, oh. And I wish
you're right.
They would have got back together because they said maybe someday you could take him on. He tells him, and I wish they would have done that. You know what I mean? They could do it now in this day and age with fucking everything coming back for the retread. You know what I mean? I wish they would do that. But anyway, I just had to throw that in there. But yeah, 9 out of 10. It's an American classic. It's a Christmas classic. Is it going to make my top 100? Probably not, but it was in there at one time. I thought about it. So, because it is that damn good. So yeah.
It's so weird. I will say this. And I don't know why. It's a monster movie, so it's a horror. It can film, and I have no problem fitting it in. I would never really have put this in a horror movie realm. But I don't know why, because it is.
It's more horror than Ghostbusters to me.
Yeah, funny enough, like it's a monster movie. I mean, Ghostbusters has the ghosts and the skeletons as well, and everything else. So, I mean, they both can fit, but both of them I'm not planning on putting them on my list. And it's more because I personally think I don't know why, but I was not planning on putting either one on my list.
That's fair. I get it. And I wasn't either, but then I started thinking about Gremlins, and at one point I said, oh, yeah, how could I think about it? It's Gremlins, for Christ's sakes. I got to put this on. And then I did it, and it sat there for a while, and I was like, ultimately, probably not. And then I watch it now, and it's still a 9 out of 10, and everything on my list is that or higher, but I'm like, well, okay.
Funny. Yeah.
I think I'm going to leave it
Ghostbusters
off.
With the rating I give would most definitely make it. I was never thinking of putting it on my list.
I don't consider that horror, but I consider this one horror. That's just my feel.
I consider. I mean, again, comedy horror. It's got
I
enough
know.
of it. It's about. I mean, it's about trapping ghosts, and it
Yeah,
creates
but
an
it's
evil, and it's got
it's comedy. Even in those
Yeah.
things, it's still comedy. You know what I'm
So
saying?
is this.
No,
But there's that.
right.
Well, when she gets possessed by Gozer or Zool, she sees Zool in the fridge or whatever, and then she's on the couch, and then the arms come out in Ghostbusters. I mean, that's freaky. I remember thinking that was really scary when I was a kid.
You're right, it is scary. But when I think about this
That
I think about the sequences, like I said before, that good 15 minutes of everything's going on there. And of course, these are monsters running around terrorizing, killing people.
Yeah.
And then Deagle and all that stuff, they kill her. And a great scene, by the way, of course. And then the thing with, the end sequence, the fucking climax of this movie is straight up horror. And the way he goes at the end, that's fucking scary. I mean, yes, take Gizmo out driving the car, which is cute and great. But I mean, I think there's more horror in here than there is in Ghostbusters. That's all. That's just the way it's always felt that way to me. But I don't know.
That's fine.
That's
fine. I mean, exactly. It's just weird now because I got to reevaluate these movies because I wasn't even thinking about putting them on. Why I wasn't thinking of it, I'm not even too sure. But I really wasn't thinking of putting either one of them on.
It's family horror, and kids like it. That's why.
That's not a bad thing, though.
No,
yeah, exactly. You just don't think about it out of the top. I'm thinking of but there are 100 slots, so we'll see.
You said 100 sluts just now. There are 100 sluts.
Well, I'm finding. I mean, I do have a bit of a list, but the reality is, with these on, it's almost like I feel like I've got a hearing impairment because I'm just hearing myself more through natural and not through my headphones. So I'm like, I've repeated myself. It's almost like my tongue. It's like you got fat tongue syndrome where you're like, and this episode seems to be worse than usual. But anyway, next episode, 1985. We're not even going to go through them. We'll put the list out there.
Yep.
I can't do next week though because I'm seeing the Chili Peppers tonight, and I'm away next Sunday, so I will not be able to record next Sunday. But we'll work it out and we'll figure it out.
We got 3 shows this month.
3 shows for August, so we're good.
Yeah, we're straight, man. We're making up what we can, and yeah, it'll be September. So that's good. 85.
There
awesome.
we go. 85.
Well,
awesome.
All right, let's be out. We got things to do, and we better not talk. We got things to do. So thanks, guys. We love you, and hope you enjoyed the show. I don't know. I had a blast today. I think it
was fun.
Yeah. Pretty solid show. Yeah, good. We got a good format going on right now. We actually like the movies we're watching, and the BS in the beginning is a lot of fun. So, yeah. So, you got anything? Any wise words before you part?
No. I love you all. Long time.
Manchichi. That's a blast from the past. Somebody brought it up. I had to do it again. I said I would. Peace.